Broadcasting from their world headquarters in Texas, it's the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show. The show that discusses arcade repair, restoration, news, and more. Now, here are your hosts, Tim and Jonathan.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 88 of the Arcade Repair Tips live show for June 2024. My name is Jonathan Leung. I'm the producer, director, and editor here at the Arcade Repair Tips video series. And joining me today, as always, is Mr. Arcade Repair Tips himself, Tim Peterson. Tim, how you doing?
Good, John. Just enjoying some sunshine for a change.
I'm telling you.
we actually have not had many sunny days around here lately, so...
It has been the rainiest, April, May into June that I can remember.
Well, we have a guy in our neighborhood, and he always posts in the neighborhood little group with rainfall amounts, and he keeps it all. We have had more rain so far this year than we had all of last year put together.
Golly.
So we've already had a year's worth of rain. We about had enough, but here in a couple more months we'll be wishing we had some rain. So it's kind of keeping the temperatures a little bit cooler for June. So that's not been bad, but of course, if you want to do anything outdoors, or in my case, driving in it has not been very fun. So anyway, glad to see a sunny day today. You can kind of see the sun shining in here. Hope that you guys are having a good, bright, sunny day where you are.
Absolutely, Tim. And we're glad that you guys are joining us tonight. Like Tim said, it has been rainy around here. And Monday, actually, Tim, we had 60-plus mile-per-hour winds blow through our neighborhood, and several trees went down, some in my yard even. And so we're all dealing with the fallout of that. But overall, we're all safe, which is good. But it has been a very hazardous, beginning of June here. So hopefully the same cannot be said for you. Hopefully you guys are doing a lot better than we are. So,
right.
But anyway, we are looking forward to the live show this evening. We do want to remind you that if you would like to interact with us during the show, you can do that in the live chat. And Tim, we've got Encore's Arcade here. We've got The Real Hammer Billy Lee is here. Digital Jazz Arcade is here. Digital Jazz Arcade actually wrote to have his channel featured on the live show, and I appreciate that. We just haven't had enough time to review them. As we mentioned, things have been kind of wild and crazy here. Once we get around to reviewing the videos you sent in, we will be featuring that in front of one of our live show episodes. So I apologize for not getting it done faster, but I need to post it in our shared little group and make sure everybody thinks it's good. So once I get around to doing that, we will make sure we feature it on one of our live show episodes. So I apologize in advance for being a little slow on that. Hopefully we can get around to it very soon.
We haven't forgot about you.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. So, but it looks like that's all we got right now, but I'm hoping that a couple more people will join us here as we continue on through the show. Now, Tim, I did mention that the NBA Finals are tonight, and it just so happens that there's a Dallas team that is in the finals. The Dallas Mavericks will be playing the Boston Celtics tonight at 7:30, and so we're going to try to get you out of here for that. Mainly, we're going to try to get us out of here for that. So that's the more important thing. Hopefully, you guys have been watching the NBA playoffs over the last, month or so, and have seen some really great basketball, Tim. It's been fun watching as a Dallas fan, but it's also been fun watching, just all the teams. I don't always sit down and watch basketball games, Tim. I'll turn it on and let it play, but it's something I typically do not sit down and do. So what about you?
Not during the season, but I definitely like the playoffs, and I enjoy to go to a basketball game occasionally. It's just there's not a lot of time at night when I get home, and convincing my wife that we're going to sit down and watch basketball is usually not a high priority. So we're going to watch something we can watch together.
Absolutely. Now, before we get on, I do want to say that I tried to get tickets to Game 3. Game 4. Game 4, right?
Yeah.
No, Game 3. It's a 2-2-1-1-1.
Okay.
Game 3, which would have been played here in Dallas, Tim. I got on Ticketmaster as soon as they sent the link, and I was the 32,000th person in line. I did not get any tickets. And on the secondary market, Tim, those tickets are going for about $1,300 minimum. So there you go, $1,300 to go to a basketball game. So
I got a hookup.
Oh, there
if
you go.
want it, and it was that for two of them.
Right.
But I turned that down.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, there you go.
It was $1,200 for two.
Oh, that's not bad.
That's not bad.
I was about to say, you got a half price deal then.
I was going to say, well, this was over a week ago. But the person that was offering them to me, which got me the same tickets that we went to last time. And I think he said the smart thing probably we're going to do to go ahead and buy them and resell them.
Absolutely. So.
And they're lower level.
Okay, Tim. Well, we got a couple other people in here. Nate Berg is here. He's like, will you be talking about the new NBA Jam coming out from Raw Thrills? We will. Speaking of NBA, Tim, and it's not technically NBA Jam. We'll reveal the name of it here in a bit, but it is based kind of on an NBA Jam, except 3-on-3 versus 2-on-2.
Oh,
Okay,
how fun.
so you get a little bit. You got an extra man in there that you don't have in NBA Jam, NBA
You know,
Showtime.
I
NBA
thought that
Hang
for
Time.
years. I was like, if somebody would make, because you're playing 4-player, right? I'm like, what if
Right.
they made just a 3-player and you're all 3 on the same team or something? I've been thinking this for years. Somebody stole my idea.
Well, I think it's still 4-player. It's just that when you pass the ball, somebody takes over the. Like if you're a single player, you just take over whichever player has the ball, right?
I got it.
So I think it is still 4-player, but having the 3-on-3, I think adds an element of complexity to it that you didn't have with NBA Jam. But we'll talk about that more here in a bit. So, and then Omega Mark is also here. He says it's raining a bit here in NYC too. So there you go. Well, we're so glad to have you guys with us tonight. And I guess, Tim, we've done enough of just the regular conversation. We'll go ahead and move on to the arcade questions for this month. And, Tim, before we get into the actual questions, we do have an update from Doug. Now, Tim, you may remember Doug had a Spiderman, the video game arcade cabinet. He was having trouble squeezing it into the area or space that he wanted
going
to get it to.
downstairs, wasn't he?
I think so. There was some issue he had, and so he wrote us back to let us know what was going on. He says, "Hey guys, thank you for answering my question on live show episode 86 regarding the cabinet. Yeah, I did remove the control deck, and the cabinet still won't fit through the door. Hence the downsizing I have to do. I will look into using the current connector and hope it will still work. I'll email you the completed project when it is done. Thank you again." And Tim, we love hearing these updates, and we don't always get the updates back. Mm-hmm. And so we appreciate it when you guys do send back updates, those of you guys who we have answered the questions for here on the show. Tim, we actually got several updates back already on the stuff that we've covered. Because typically what I'll do is I'll answer their question and then put at the bottom, I'll say like, and we're also going to feature your question on the live show, right? Mm-hmm. And so some people already wrote me back that we're covering questions for tonight and told me that, yes, that worked, no, that didn't. And so those may be covered next live show in our update section as well.
I really like the updates because, I mean, we're taking our best guess, but at the same time, and if something doesn't work, let us know. Maybe we have a different idea or a different approach. We try to be as thorough as we can, but sometimes it's just good to know. It's good to hear that you got it going or it helped or whatever we did or said might have had some influence on you. So by all means, if you have a question, we'd like to see, or if it got fixed or whatever, just follow back up, even if it's been a while back.
And it also helps those people who may have the same problem, right? So if our guess maybe wasn't correct, maybe whatever you did, you got it working somehow, and so you can give us some feedback on that and let us know, so that way we can keep that kind of in our database of fixes, so next time we see...
How many questions are in there, at least, John?
I don't always post the live show stuff, but I mean, we have over, I think, 2,000 questions and answers in the database that we have on our website. Maybe it's probably more now. It's probably 5,000 or so. But that was only first responses. We never do the back and forth. And I mean, we have some of these email chains, Tim, in the past that have gone like 20, 30, 40 emails deep, where you're just exchanging back and forth. So, but the database is there to help you out with some common issues. But just in general, we do post what we cover in each live show episode. And so, if somebody does a search for a question, there may be a live show episode that comes up because we've put that description in there, so people can find it. So it's good to have the follow-ups, though, so that way there's additional information. Maybe we get a better answer as to what's going on, whatever the case may be.
And we like to learn, too.
Exactly.
We want to know. Maybe we're going to run across that problem someday, and if you might have had something you seemed unique at the time, but as we were saying, over 5,000 questions come in. We get a lot of stuff the same, but there is tons of unique questions in there. And you never know when somebody else would run across that, and we could help them also.
Absolutely, Tim. So thank you again for the update from Doug there. That really does, I think, hopefully, it doesn't necessarily answer the question, Tim, but hopefully he can get everything transferred into a cabinet that will fit into his space, which I think is the goal. And we mentioned that, I think it was just a JAMA, but it did have some kick harnesses for the additional players.
Yes.
And so just to make sure that he had those, and it sounded like he had those in the original wiring, and he's going to try those.
Mm-hmm.
So. Okay, Tim, let us move on to this question from Jason. Technically, the first question of the month. So, and here we go. I purchased a 60-in-1 tabletop arcade game 6 or 7 years ago. I've had the 60-in-1 and 412-in-1 cards in it periodically, and for several years I've been very happy. At one point, a joystick broke from hard use. I carefully labeled all conductors and contacts and replaced the joystick with one purchased from a vendor on Amazon. Shortly after the problem began, Every time I hit the fire button, the player moves to the right, and every time I move the joystick to the right, it automatically fires. I figured the joystick was faulty. I bought a second joystick, and the problem still persists. This has become problematic, and now we really can't play any shooting games, so we're committed to Pac-Man and similar games. Can you help me understand what has gone wrong? Can it be saved? Should I just gut it and rebuild? I feel like that's overkill, but I would really like to get back to using it, whatever it takes at this point. So grateful for any support, and thank you again for all of your great work. Now, Tim, this is where the title of tonight's episode comes from. Gut it and rebuild, is that overkill? So, Jason, you have inspired the title for tonight's live show episode. Now, Tim, it sounds like Jason's had this game for a while, so 6 to 7 years, and it's a tabletop, so cocktail cabinet as we like to refer to it. And he had a joystick issue, and so he's thinking, well, I'll just replace the joystick, right? Like, guys, we replace joysticks all the time. They break all the time, right? I mean, especially if it's hard use, if you're the kind of player that's really tough on joysticks, or if you just have an environment that's tough on joysticks, you will be replacing them. And it sounds like he did a pretty good job making sure that everything went where it was supposed to go, but somehow we have this issue where when he pushes right on the joystick, it fires, and when he hits the fire button, it goes right. So, Tim, what do you think Jason did in order to cause this issue, and how do you think he can go about repairing it? First off, maybe, do we need to gut it and rebuild, or is that overkill?
No, in fact, we could probably have a race in the live chat. Who thinks that we can rate? Show of hands if you think you could fix this in less than a minute.
Sure.
And I bet most hands would go up. And I chuckled just a little bit because, wow, I can remember doing the same thing. And talk about making your game challenging, right? Trying to play and right as fire. That would really be it's almost a fun way to, if you're really good, you know, like we should put Rexer, he should go on and do this and see how good he could be at one of his games. We'll handicap him. He'd have to play me. That's what he would have to do.
Okay, now that you're saying that, though, I'm envisioning this kind of setup where we have 4 buttons in a cross formation, and each one is mapped to the joystick direction, like up, down, left, right, and then trying to play like that. It would be.
It would almost be similar with what's going on.
Right.
But anyway, the good news is no, we're not going to gut and we're not going to rebuild. In fact, we're just going to switch a couple wires.
Sure.
So all that happens is when you move, and most of the guys know this, but for those of you, everybody that's watching, when you move a joystick, you're actually making a temporary connection through a switch. When you hit a fire button, it's the same switch on the bottom, right? So all it's doing is pushing it down, whereas a joystick might be pushing it over. They both are doing the same thing. They're just click, click, clicking. That is sending a signal to the board to go right or fire or whatever it is. So basically, you have 3 prongs on a switch, and you normally use 2 of them. One will be connected to ground, and one will be connected to it's probably normally closed in this, normally open until you close it by hitting the button.
Right. So normally open is way more common than normally closed.
Right.
Now, you will find instances of normally closed, but they're rare.
So the best way to determine this is your ground switch is going to be, it's going to look like everybody else. It's usually the one on the very bottom all by itself. I always sing that Sesame Street song in my head. One of these things is not like the other. That's your ground, okay? The one that's different, that's your ground. And it should be daisy chained or go to all of them. That you probably figured out pretty easy. Where you messed up was you hooked up the fire to the right side, which they're probably really close together. And that's probably what happened. Probably when taking it out, you accidentally unplugged the fire button. And so all you have to do is switch the button. So what you're going to have to do is flip your control panel over, move it right, see which switch is being activated. And you can unplug, not the one that's common, not the ground, but unplug the other wire. And then hit the fire button, see which one that is, and switch those 2 wires where they are, and that should easily fix your problem.
And I like what you said about it coming off, Tim. So when he was removing the terminals...
Yeah, well, he wasn't changing his fire button, he didn't say.
No.
So that's probably what's really confusing. It's like, how can I change my joystick and now my fire button is wonky?
Right.
That wouldn't make any sense, especially to a new guy. And that's why I kind of laughed, and some of you guys probably laughed watching this because we've all been there, right? I took out a Mortal Kombat for the first time and didn't look at any wires. I didn't even know that they went back. I didn't know how to trace them or nothing. So I literally had to play with each wire, and I was going, okay, this is right, this is left, this is fire. And you can imagine with all the buttons and wires coming out of a two-player, that Mortal Kombat right over there, actually, that's now in your collection. So anyway, don't stress. This is a real easy fix. I only charge $400 to do this at home. Actually, I would probably, if you probably let me use your restroom and gave me something to drink, I would fix this and tell you to have a good day.
I was gonna say gas
money.
right?
If I didn't drive too far.
Right.
If you lived in my neighborhood, this would be free. Probably drive across town, maybe $20 or whatever. But so this is probably one of the easiest fixes ever. Don't stress. If any of that really didn't make sense, then email us back and we can really explain this in a little more detail on the phone or something if need be, okay?
Right, and one of the things, like I was mentioning, Tim, is with the terminals, is you're probably right. When he was unplugging the terminals from the original joystick, he probably accidentally unplugged the fire button terminal, and then when he went to wire them back up, he just swapped them.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, right.
Couldn't even be the same color.
Right, exactly. And sometimes what happens is that the way that the wires stretch, it may have been easier for you to hook them up that way because there may have been just the way the wiring was. And so, very common problem. Like Tim mentioned, a quick swap of the wires should probably do it. But if you want to be certain, you can do a couple of things we're going to talk about here in the outline. So, from your description, it sounds more like a wiring issue than a joystick issue. You might just try swapping the non-ground wires on the fire button switch and the right directional switch on the joystick to see if it fixes the problem. This is what Tim mentioned. Mm-hmm. Now, if it doesn't, okay, you can trace the wires back for these two switches to the wiring harness to make sure they are connected to the right positions. Now, Tim, these are also right next to each other on the harness.
Correct.
Okay, pin 21 and pin 22, okay? So, but, as we always like to say, you can use your continuity check on your multimeter, and that'll easily make sure that you've got the right one going to the right place, right? And basically, that allows you to make sure that you've got the right terminal connected to the right switch on the control panel. And continuity check, when we say that, Jason, is just a way, basically, when you take each end of your multimeter and you put them on either end of the wire, it should beep in a continuity check. And so that just lets you know basically where the beginning of the wire is and where the end of it is, right, Tim? And that's what it can do. If you need to go that far, then you may look at getting a multimeter with that kind of check on it. So.
And by watching our video and understanding the JAMA wire harness standard, that probably, if some of that sounded really foreign to you, I'm sure the chat room was like, no, this is an easy fix. But if that's some of what I said sounded foreign, watch that video because that will really help you what we're talking about with the wiring and how easily it is to get those mixed up. Don't sweat it. It's easy fix.
Exactly. So, Jason, hopefully answers your question, and good luck getting that fire button to fire again and the right direction to move right again. Hopefully, it's just a quick swap of the wires and you'll be back in business.
Yeah.
So, there we go. And we got Omega Mark says reverse the wires, and YouTube Punk says reverse the polarity. So, there you go. Mm-hmm. Easy enough. And I think... Oh, and Nate says, switch wires, we're done. And let's see, Mike Levi says, hand up. Let's see. YouTube Punk, Howdy, hello, Tim and Jonathan, he's here. Joe says you can only play Frogger on that setup, right?
Right.
Absolutely. So
Mike can play Frogger really good with that setup.
That's
might
true,
be better.
Absolutely. So, okay, I think we're caught up on the live chat. So we're going to continue on here, Tim, with our next question. And this one is from Joshua. And Joshua writes, I have a House of the Dead with 2 Happ guns. They work fine for probably the first half of the game and then start going wonky. Completely off grid. A restart of the game, power off and on, will fix it. What is wrong? So, Tim, we got House of the Dead, which is a light gun style game. You get optical sensor in there. And he's not using the House of the Dead guns. He's using the Happ guns, mainly because the House of the Dead guns, I don't even think you can get anymore. And if you can, they're going to cost you, like I said, arm and leg. So most people have switched to using the Happ guns with this because of that.
Right.
And it works for a while, and then all of a sudden it'll just start going wonky on him. And so, Tim, what do you think? And he did specify House of the Dead 1.
Okay.
I didn't put that in there, but it is a... first one. It's not one of the later sequels. So what do you think is going on with Joshua's House of the Dead that it works fine for a while and then just starts going all wonky on it?
Well, anytime something works for a pretty good while, I mean, it's not like it works for a few seconds and then quits. He's into the game and really going good, and then it starts acting up. Anytime we see that issue, it's normally not the hardware issue, which would, in this case, would be the guns.
Right.
It's normally not the guns, or they wouldn't work at all.
Sure.
They don't have really much in them that would cause them to fail at some point. What does is the boards that the guns are attached to, or a computer or a power supply, we're having some kind of, as it gets hot and warm, something is going on.
Can I stop you for just a second? I do think it's very important here to emphasize the fact that this sounds like it's happening with both guns at the same time.
Yes.
Which would also lead us to not think it's a gun issue.
Exactly. That's a great point, is that, so it's almost, you remember we've had some questions before where guys like, I play for 30 seconds and then it goes off.
Sure.
It's very strange when stuff like that happens, but usually that's easier to troubleshoot because we know it's probably not the guns. And then so what happens is it has a little I/O board in there and the guns go to it. I would assume that something's really getting hot and heated in there, and then it starts to, and so he probably has some kind of failure, chip malfunction or whatever going on with his I/O board. Now, of course,
Joshua's in the live chat, Tim.
Oh, hello, Joshua.
He said, I've cleaned the gun beforehand connectors too. I haven't checked voltage once they go wonky. Not sure how to. And he says, yes, both guns. Guns are both new.
Yeah. And see, that's where, Joshua, we're talking about is the fact that guns are probably not the issue, but he already went to my next point. I would really want to know what happens to the voltage. Now, what you said is, it is kind of hard. You can read them. You can get the schematics and find out which wire goes to what. I would ask you this. What if you just did one gun?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And just had one gun, nothing else. Joshua, have you done that and see if it plays good with one gun?
So, would you completely unplug the other gun?
Yes.
Okay, so unplug it from the I/O board?
From the I/O board.
Okay.
The reason why I would do that is because I think that two guns, that's a lot of firing and stuff going on. I wonder if it would continue to play okay with one gun, or either way, I still think we probably got an I/O board issue. Now, if it happens with just one gun, then I would really be looking at your power supply too, and making sure that it's not maybe at the time of your board, it may be the power supply that's failing after a certain amount of time, and your I/O board's not getting the correct amount of power. So that's a little easier to look at. It's kind of those pins on that I/O board. You can get the schematics for it. They're pretty small, and it's kind of tough to read, but it's easier to read the power supply.
So let me also ask you this. He says it heats up and then it stops. Could it be like a cold crack or broken solder joint on the I/O board itself?
It's definitely possible on one of those chips legs.
Or what about even on the connectors?
Yes, it is possible.
Okay.
But I would think that if it was a connector, it would probably be wonky at random times, like sometimes here, sometimes there. On a chip leg, maybe, because as it heats up. But this does it so regularly, it sounds like he can just restart it and it'll work again for a little while.
Right.
And so that's what makes me think something on there and that I/O board is starting to fail.
So he said, I beat the game, but I had to switch guns midway through. So I wonder if he went from like the one-player side to the two-player side and it worked. So if he does switch the guns, it's fine. But then when he tries to use both the guns, it sounds like is when it fails.
Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, I mean,
Joshua,
we'll see. Yeah, I was about to say, we'll
go
see if
ahead
he
and
comes
answer.
back with it.
But I still think you got a problem with your I/O board. And I know, Jonathan, I think you're going to show a picture of it on the screen.
And I will say, I looked at the manual, too, for House of the Dead, and it does have the schematic, and it does show you what all the pins on the connectors are. And so you should be able to check the voltage on the board itself if you want to check it whenever it goes wonky. And so, yes, Joshua says, yes, that is correct. So,
okay.
Yeah. So you can check the voltage on the board itself by looking at the schematic in the manual if you're comfortable with that, and see what it is whenever you do get that wonkiness. See what's happening to the I/O board as far as voltage is concerned at that point. Tim, is there anything else here you want to? They both go out around the 10-minute mark, you said.
Yeah. See, it's getting warm, really getting warm, and something's going on with it's causing something to fail. There's a processor or something in there that's just not doing what it should. Outside chance could be a main board issue, but I bet you it's in that I/O board.
Yeah. Nate says, was the specific gun for House of the Dead? I always thought it came with hat, red, and blues. No, there were specific guns for House of the Dead, but now everybody pretty much uses the Happ just because it's way easier to get.
Yeah. We couldn't even get them back in the day.
Yeah, they were hard to get even when they were originally released. Yeah, exactly. So pretty much almost every setup you see now will have Happ guns. Because we all know light guns take a beating more than any other arcade control that you can name, right, Tim? With kids dropping them on the ground and everything. So
we replace them every month.
Okay, Josh says, appreciate the advice. We'll check it out further. Wish they sold replacement parts. So here's what you can do. You can contact our friend Ken at iRepairSega.com. If you think it's the I/O board, or you can talk to him, he's real good at repairing Sega parts, and so he may be able to either get you a replacement I/O board or fix the I/O board that you currently have. And so I'm going to go ahead and put this up here, Tim, real quick. Oh, there we go. Seems more like maybe a power or game board issue, since the problem occurs with both light guns at the same time, like we talked about. Try checking the voltage when the light guns are going wonky to see if it's still within range. Check the connections on the I/O board to make sure it's connected properly to the light guns and the main board. And you can see here, Tim, here's the I/O board here. We have a picture of it so he can see. And of course, we have a whole post on troubleshooting light gun issues that you can check out. They can give you just some general things, but it really does sound more like a power or game board issue, right, Tim?
Yes, exactly. Sounds like it.
So you can try some of the stuff we talked about here tonight, and you might also try contacting, as I mentioned, Ken at iRepairSega.com, as he does specialize in Sega parts. And if you do need a new I/O board, he might be able to help you out with that. So I think that's all we got for him. Tim, do you have anything else here for Joshua before we move on?
No, Josh, would you please let us know what works, and do a follow-up with us sometime. I'd really like to hear what solves this issue.
Absolutely. So Joshua, hopefully that gives you at least the starting point to start fixing your game. If you need any additional help, please let us know. Or like I said, try contacting Ken at iRepairSega, and hopefully he can help you out if you need a replacement I/O board with your issue. So. Okay, I'm going to go over to the live chat here real quick. It looks like Delusional just showed up, Tim.
Hello.
So, and let's see who else we've got here. Nate says, already had to replace the Carnival with Happ guns, same with Area 51. Yeah, I mean, guys, Happ guns are pretty much the standard. Any original guns that came with games, at this point, I don't think are being manufactured anymore.
No,
so pretty much Happ guns are all you can get without spending a huge load of money.
I will tell you a trick. You can gut those guns and use the Happ gun guts inside of them. That's sometimes.
True. So if you have the
show, you could do a little bit of ingenuity on your end, a little MacGyvering, but you might have to super glue and mount, or, you know, I like hot glue in there. You could kind of mount your stuff, but the guts are really close to the same on a lot of them, so you could probably just use the shell and very carefully take a lot of pictures, know where you are, but it could be done if you just want to have the look of something before you throw your guns away.
And with 3D printers nowadays, you may be able to manufacture the shell with a 3D printer and then throw the Happ gun guts in there, right?
Yeah, very.
And have like a semi-original look to it.
Very much so.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. So, sounds good. So, okay, and Joshua says, thanks, guys, will do. So, there we go. So, just keep us posted. Send us back an email if you need additional help, too. Anything else that we can do to help you out, please let us know. So, Tim, I decided to wear my Bucky shirt tonight.
Okay.
I don't know if everybody in the live chat knows Bucky's. I know those of you guys from probably the south part of the country do, but Bucky's is what would you call it? A huge gas station that
a gas station on steroids.
Exactly,
I don't know.
Pumps everywhere. It's like in between a gas station and a Walmart, right?
Yeah.
So
very close.
But yeah, 40th anniversary shirt, Tim.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I think it says let's party like it's 1980 something.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. So
party like it's 82.
There you go. Which was my birthday too, so it works out. But anyway, we love Bucky's around here, Tim. And I'm also rocking my Prime tonight, so I like Prime. Do you drink Prime?
Too.
It's decent
a
stuff.
Lot.
Yeah, I was about to say, low on sugar for this kind of stuff.
But it has really good taste.
It does.
It doesn't taste like a diet drink.
Nope.
Kind of,
Good stuff. So
the aftertaste.
Anyway, so having a good time, just hanging out and answering arcade repair questions. Isn't that what we do?
Yeah,
so,
that's
and it's great to have. I love it when you guys, I email you guys letting you know that the question's going to be on the show, and we don't always have people who show up. So thank you, Joshua, for showing up and watching, because the instant feedback allows us to give you even more troubleshooting advice, right?
Yes.
And that's important, especially if you want to solve your issues. So
thank you for being here.
Yeah. Nate says that's true, but most of the shells are in bad shape. As an operator, it's just cheaper to slap some Happ guns on it and call it a day.
For sure.
Right. And there may be but like I said, there may be 3D molds or 3D printing instructions that you can use to print you some shells too, if you want one that looks like original.
Yeah, I'm more thinking about like a home collector that wanted that original look.
Yeah.
To their game, you know.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's the only way I think.
As an operator, I don't want to mess.
Yeah, if it's on
too
route,
much trouble.
I'm definitely leaving the original Happ guns. But if it's a home collector, I could definitely see going with the original look for sure. And you may be able to find broken guns out there a lot easier than trying to find a working one, right?
True.
So buy a broken one, slap the Happ guts in there, you should be in good shape. So. Okay, Tim, let's move to our next question from Great Racing Fool. Did I say that right?
I think
Great
so.
Racing Fool. He has the GR8 in there, so I think that's how we're going to pronounce it. Anyway, he says, I have a 1943 game and I'm trying to replace the power cord. I'm looking at the wiring diagram versus how my wires are connected, and I'm not sure if it's correct. Right now, one wire is going to the fuse and the other 2 wires to the filter. I have attached some pictures so you can see. According to the diagram, all 3 should go to the filter and then to the fuse. I know ground is right. I'm just not sure about the other 2 wires. Now, Tim, you can see here in the pictures why he's trying to replace his power cord. His ground is missing.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, he has no ground. Now here, and that's in the first picture, and then the second picture we can see kind of close up what's happening here. It looks like we've got one wire of our cord going to the fuse.
Going to the fuse.
And then it goes to a yellow wire that kind of goes back this way.
Uh-huh.
And then there's a black wire that kind of comes around to the other side of the AC filter. And then we have this ground wire here that's coming straight from the wire. Now, his problem is that he looks at the schematic, and that's not how it shows it exactly. Okay, so the wiring is a little bit different in the schematic versus the way that he has it wired up. So, Tim, with that in mind, I mean, do you think this is okay? Great Racing Fool, what advice would you give him for wiring up this cord?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's always good, too.
So,
well, I mean, we want to replace the power cord because we're missing the ground. Right?
Yeah, I would do it like it is in the cabinet. I think it's fine. All they're doing is they're probably sending a wire up to either a interlock switch or a kill switch or something, or it may be just the on-off button up there.
Sure.
So they're not going to show you that all the time, and it's probably maybe not even be an original game.
Right.
But I think it's fine as long as it's working. Of course, I would replace that cord for sure. Another alternative, you could just replace the end.
Right.
The end, not the whole cord.
The fact that he had all 3 wires, it looks like the cord itself already has a ground in it.
Yes.
Somebody probably pulled the ground in order to get it into a 2-prong plug, right?
Yes.
And so, yeah, I think like Tim mentioned, you could just replace the end if you wanted to. Now, it depends on the shape of the cord, right, Tim?
Right.
So if your cord's in really rough shape already, probably best to replace the cord. And it sounds like he'd already bought a cord, Tim, so I think he's going cord replacement route. Anyway, continue.
Right. But we don't really know where the other wire goes. I mean, but I'm just assuming by saying that as long as it's working, don't worry about it. It's probably just going up there and going through some kind of switch. Or it's maybe going straight to the light or something so that when the game comes on, the light comes on right away. That would be my guess. We really don't know much else but except for what we see in the pictures. And I just use a common sense approach that if it's working, it's okay.
Okay, sounds good too. Let me throw up the outline here and we'll kind of summarize what you said. Now, from your pictures, it looks like they are sending one of the AC lines from your power cord through the fuse and up to the top of your cabinet via the yellow wire, and then back down to the right prong of your AC filter. This is common, especially in games that use interlock switches. Sometimes they'll do this to power marquee light first. Tim mentioned an on-off switch. Maybe that's at the top of the cabinet. There's a lot of reasons why they would do this. And so it's not uncommon to see this kind of setup. And like Tim mentioned, your game may not even be dedicated. So the fact that you're looking in the manual, not everybody wires things like they are in the manual, right, Tim?
Right, correct.
And so with that said, in a standard wiring setup, the black wire from the new cord would go to the fuse typically. The white wire would go to the left prong, and then the ground wire would go to the center prong. I said left there. I think I meant right prong. Tim.
Okay.
But it's like when you're doing, left prong. I was right, left prong. So the white wire would go to the left prong, and then the ground wire would go to the center prong. And then that you're already relying on the yellow wire to send it up to the top of the cabinet, and that black wire is already hooked up to the other side of the AC filter to come back down. So I mean, you're in good shape. If you just hook it up like we talked about, I think you'll be fine. Black wire to the fuse, white wire to the left side of the AC filter, and then the ground wire to the center prong of the AC filter, we should be in good shape. Tim, anything else for Great Racing Fool before we continue?
No, I really like to know where that one wire goes just before we definitively say something, but at the same time, if this game works and you're just adding a ground because you know the game should be grounded, you should be okay.
Absolutely. And Tim, we did hear back from Great Racing Fool. I think I got a response today.
Okay.
And he did say that it is working, and he hooked it up like we talked about, and he is playing 1943. So he's in good shape, and so hopefully that will continue to run well for him for years to come. So thank you for the feedback as well. And enjoy your 1943 cabinet. Hopefully you have a great time playing it. Tim, you used to have one?
I did.
So we played it all the time.
Games.
Yeah, it's a great game to play. So enjoy it, and hopefully, like I said, it'll last you for several years. So, Digital Jazz Arcade said new power cord since it's missing the ground. I replaced the power cord on almost all my games that I used. They all seem to have the ground prong missing, and that's a common thing because if you're in an establishment that only has 2 prong plugs, then obviously you can't have a ground. So people will pull those suckers out right out of the cords like it's nothing, and then plug them in, and they're fine. They're fine, but they're not grounded. Right. I mean, that's what you have to remember. They will run like that, but they're technically not properly grounded. So still a good idea to always make sure you have that ground prong and that it is plugged in properly and all that good stuff. So.
Yeah, I kind of learned my lesson on grounding years ago. We had a game at an establishment, and it had broken like that. And I thought, you know what? It's working. I don't have time. Why mess with it? And most of the time when you drop a coin into the cabinet, I don't ever touch the coin mech. I just literally, maybe briefly, the plastic around it. But I'm just dropping my quarter in. And a little kid came up, and he grabbed the door, which was not grounded, and it like to shock the fire out of him. And I learned a good lesson that day that, you know, just because it's working or on, stuff needs to be grounded. So I felt really bad. I don't think it was a lot of voltage. It definitely wasn't 110. It was probably about 20 volts or something. But it was enough to make him cry and make me feel bad. So from then on, I think I did exactly what one of our listeners do. Anytime I get one, we used to keep them. And we used to have bins, John, remember, just power cords, and we're just like, give me a power cord. We'd come back from auction, we'd start replacing power cords. So I get it. I think it's a great thing to do.
Absolutely. So hopefully that'll help out. Or actually, we know it did. Great Racing Fool, he already had replaced it, and sounds like he's in good shape now. So There you go. Tim, I forgot to mention that I went to Chuck E. Cheese over this past month. Twice. Our local one.
I did too.
Oh, look at you.
Today.
You did today.
Yeah.
Is it on your route or something?
I did an inspection there today.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I didn't eat the food. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Actually, they're one of our customers now.
Oh, okay.
Actually, they did really good. So
okay,
it was good. Very clean.
Yeah, well, why don't we talk about that in the discussion portion?
Okay.
Because when I went twice and I had 2 different experiences, I think a tech had worked on some stuff.
Yeah.
And so we can talk about that. We'll save that for the discussion.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
I didn't even put that in the thing, and I totally forgot to mention it. But, just talking about stuff, here we are. So.
Adding trampolines for long, that's going to be different. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, there you go. We'll talk about that, too. Okay, Tim, let us move on, though, with our next question from Kim here. And she writes, hello, can you tell me what might be wrong with my monitor? Changed all the caps and transistors so far. The weird thing is that I can see all the individual colors, but it's like they cannot mix properly. And Tim, here is a picture that she sent us. It's of a Bubble Memories board. And Tim, the B and the M and the E there in the title should be green. And the little guy next to the green guy, he should be more bluish.
Okay.
So we're definitely missing some colors or something. We're getting some weird coloring issues. So what do you think's going on with Kim's monitor on her Bubble Memories cabinet?
Well, this is a really good question because, and if I was brand new, this would really confuse me because it's missing the color green, but I see green there.
True.
So how can it be missing green in some areas but not other areas? And so this is where, guys, you can understand the difference between a green drive and a green cutoff. And so what's happening here, it's probably the green cutoff. The drive is probably working, but not the cutoff. So I think that, and we need to touch up solder, of course, and all that stuff. And we refer them to replace, maybe a resistor that needs, transistor, that needs replaced. Maybe a resistor on there too, but a transistor for sure. So I think that but we want to make sure that the wiring is okay too. Because this to me almost could is almost indicative of a wiring problem. But with all that said, we're going to do the normal color things, which would be, I don't think this is a cap issue. I think that it's probably the transistor or a wiring problem.
Okay, and we should mention that a lot of monitors have two sets of transistors for the colors. They have one transistor for the green drive and then one for the cutoff.
Right.
They may also have one on the main chassis and one on the neck board. You'll see that kind of setup too. And so there's different places, and so make sure that you're checking all the places where those transistors are whenever you're replacing them. But Tim, like you mentioned, input wiring just as important here.
Sure.
And especially the solder on the input pins,
Exactly.
which tends to crack and kind of get loose over time, because what happens is you plug in that connector, you take it off. You plug in that connector, you take it off. And every time you do that, you're pulling on those pins, right? Mm-hmm. And then over time, if there any heat gets up in there, it may start to loosen those pins even more. And then you may, all of a sudden, that pin may not be making a great connection with the board anymore. And so that is something to keep in mind. Tim, I'm going to go ahead and throw this up here though real quick.
Okay.
From your picture, it does look like you're going to be missing the color green. We can see that you're getting a bit of it at the bottom of the screen. Perhaps your green drive is working, but not your green cutoff. First off, make sure that the monitor input wires are making a good connection. Touch up the solder on the input pins if needed. Trace the color green pin through the chassis. Make sure that there are no breaks or bad parts on the line. Possibly could be a board issue. It's possible. So what you might want to do is that I think Bubble Memories may be a JAMA game, Tim. And so you could try hooking it up to another JAMA cabinet just to see, even if the controls don't work, just to see if the board is working properly, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's something to keep in mind as well. If you need additional help, get back with us with the make and model of the chassis, and that would help a lot. We can give you more advanced troubleshooting from there. But overall, it does look like, for some reason, we're not getting anything on that green line really coming through, except for maybe a little bit of that green drive in the picture. And so, like Tim mentioned, input wires, transistors, anything on the green line that's not making a good connection, we need to make sure is making a good connection in order to fix this. Tim, anything else for Kim here outside of just
Have you ever played this game? I feel like I've seen it, but I don't remember playing it.
Yeah, it's a sequel to Bubble Bobble, Puzzle Bobble, yeah. And I have not actually played it that I can remember. I may have at some point.
I think I remember seeing it in MAME or something, maybe playing around with it. But anyway, just pretty rare game.
Yeah, it's not something we definitely see a whole lot for sure, Tim. Probably seen one at an auction before. I mean, I know we've seen that kind of stuff just randomly at times, so you just never know. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously probably a game she really likes. So, but hopefully she can get it working. Again, make and model chassis could help us so much, help you troubleshoot it. And so if you could get back to us with that, that'd be great. Tim, she did write back. I did not read her email. So I saw that you sent an email back. I didn't get a chance to go through it yet. So again, though, if you're going to write us again, make and model. If you don't know what the make and model of your chassis is, take a picture.
Just take a picture.
Just send it to us, and we can probably identify it. If it's a common one, I can probably just tell by looking at it. If it's uncommon, we can probably find a match for it. So
sure.
So Kim, hopefully answers your question. Let's check everything along that green line, all in the chassis, is input pins coming all the way from the game board, and make sure that everything along that line is making a good connection. That's definitely the first spot to start. So. Okay, Tim, let us move on to Carlos. And Carlos says, "Good afternoon. I am supporting a company that has several arcade machines in Guatemala. Some of them are having issues. There's a Mario Kart Arcade GP DX game that does not start in Mario. There's also the Walking Dead machine that I have to manually turn on the CPU, and it restarts when inserting a coin. Thanks in advance for the support." Now, Tim, this is a question about some more modern games than we're typically used to troubleshooting. You know, a lot of the troubleshooting that we do is typically with older games. Tim, both these are still being sold by distributors and are still in arcade games right now, or arcades right now. Let me say it like that. And so, The Walking Dead, Tim, I believe, is a Raw Thrills game, and I believe that Mario Kart is distributed by Bandai Namco, which are both companies that are still very much in the arcade space. And so, Tim, what would you recommend to Carlos? And I should say Carlos's email came in Spanish. Okay. So hopefully you can get something to translate what we're saying here. We can write you back with some of the details and everything. But, Tim, what advice would you give to Carlos as far as, he says the Mario Kart GP does not boot up into Mario, and then he has to turn on the Walking Dead CPU by hand, and then when it coins up, it restarts. So what's going on here?
Well, we'll take them one at a time. The Walking Dead, that's pretty interesting because when he coins it, it won't come on. Well, it won't come on upon power up. Normally, you just go into the BIOS settings and you have to change that.
Right.
The fact that it resets when coined up, that also, his BIOS settings is off, so everything could be off.
Right.
I would think that you're probably going to have to reset your BIOS settings and maybe download your software. And your battery may be dead on your motherboard.
Gotcha.
Fortunately for him, though, or for both of these games, the support is still available through the manufacturer. So, but he can get that information in the manual also. So download the manual, and I think that you can go in and reset yours up. And especially if you have the reboot CD, I think that's exactly what I would do.
Yeah, and I think he may have asked for that. And in the whole email, I didn't put the entire email in there.
Okay.
But I think you're right. If he wants the reset CDs, then he should be able to get those from the manufacturers, right? Or
Right.
whoever's doing the support for them. So, Tim, I'm going to go ahead and throw this up here real quick. So, the first thing we would recommend is checking the troubleshooting section of the manuals for these games. So, for example, the Walking Dead arcade manual actually discusses the issue of the PC not coming on. And in the manual, it shows you how to set up the BIOS to solve this issue. And so, Tim, what I did was I actually linked both these manuals here. I forgot to put these down in the show notes, but I'll do that right after the show, so they'll be down there so you can click these links. So get the manuals for these and walk through those first before you go any further. Now, the manuals also contain the contact information for Bandai Namco Amusements, which distributes Mario Kart, and for Raw Thrills. Now, Betson here in the States provides support for them, but I'm not sure who does it in Guatemala.
Right.
So you may need to call Raw Thrills and say, hey, I've got this game. Who do I contact for service? And hopefully they can put you in contact with somebody, if not service it themselves. So, I mean, that's something to keep in mind. They should both have copies of the restore disc for these games. So you should be able to get a set of restore disc if you want to go the restoration route. Right, Tim?
That's correct.
So
that's what I would do.
But these companies should be able to point you to somebody in your area who can help you with parts and service, okay? And so that's very important. Tim, the manuals have the information for Europe and the information for the States, but they don't always have the information for South America. And so you do need to contact probably the company directly and say, hey, I need somebody to, let me know who the service provider or parts provider is. If they don't have one in your area, you may be able to order direct, right, Tim?
Correct.
So there you go. And so that's what we would recommend to Carlos here. Now, Nate had some more stuff here. He says with Mario, when he says it doesn't boot into Mario Kart, does it boot at all or does it not boot to power? And that's what we don't know. He says it doesn't boot to Mario. So it could be coming on and just not booting up. And Tim, I mentioned I took a trip to Chuck E. Cheese, and the Let's Go Jungle was doing that exact thing. It had boot up to an empty BIOS screen. Computer was booting, but was booting up to basically like a screen that said like insert disk, right? Or something like that. And so if your Mario's doing the same thing, then a restore disk should fix that.
Should.
So Nate says if it doesn't boot at all, power related. If everything boots up, then the game, but the game, it could be anything. Also, Mario does not use a disk, a hard drive with USB. Yeah, exactly. He uses hard drives. So, I mean, we're saying disk, hard drive. Both these games are hard drive based. They're PC based games, which means they do have a hard drive in there. On the Mario, you may have to replace the entire hard drive before you can do the restore, right, Tim?
Correct.
So you may have to actually replace the hard drive before you do the restore.
That's a little trickier.
Right. So, whereas with The Walking Dead, a restore may get you right back to working, along with configuring your BIOS settings. But on the coin-up issue, it could be a power issue as well. So, Tim, any other information here for Carlos or little comments you want to add in before we move on?
I don't think so.
Okay. So, Carlos, hopefully answers your question. Good luck getting both those games back up and running. And again, both these manufacturers are still in business and should be able to help you with troubleshooting and hopefully can get you in contact with somebody who supplies parts in your area. Tim, I'm pretty sure they have distributors in South America for parts. I just don't know who they are.
Okay.
And, I mean, obviously, we are way more familiar with Europe and America than we are with South America.
Right.
So, in North America than we are with South America. So, yeah, because North America is pretty much the same distributor stuff. So all the way to Mexico and Canada usually are covered. Obviously, Europe is kind of all covered in itself. And then Japan, of course, they have their Japanese arms over there. And so, but South America, not sure. Hopefully they can put you in a better position than we can with that. So. Well, Tim, that does it for our regular questions. And so now we get to the quick question and answer section. Now, Tim, one of these questions is from, or two of these questions are from regulars around here, the Rexer Show and Jumping General, who I saw in the live chat. And Tim, he already responded back. We already replied to his question. He already responded back. So we've already got that taken care of. But I already put it on the outline, so we might as well cover it, right?
We'll help somebody else.
Absolutely. So for those of you guys who may be new to the live show, this is the quick question and answer section of the show. This is where I rapid fire 3 questions Tim's direction, and he rapid fires back 3 answers really quickly about these questions. And so these are a little bit shorter than what we have with the other questions we've covered tonight. And again, just kind of helps us get through more questions in a very fast fashion. So let us continue here, Tim. Here are the quick questions and answers for this evening. Jeff says, I have a 412-in-1 multi-game board that has no signal at all. So all I need to do is cut pin 27 and that's it. So that's what he's wondering. Greg says, from the Rexer Show, he says, I added -5 to my Miss Pac-Man Galaga Class of 81 board, and apparently it doesn't take -5. It was working, and then I started a game. All of a sudden, it just shut off. Once I found out I shouldn't have hooked up the -5, I'm guessing I fried it. Is there any way to fix this? And then Jumping General says, I have a Ranger Mission cabinet. The fan inside the power supply stopped spinning. That's probably not good for the monitor of the board. Things will get hot, I assume. Now the game won't coin up anymore. And I put a new cherry switch, and this game still won't coin up. Any suggestions? So Jeff wonders if all he has to do is cut pin 27 on his 412-in-1 to get it working. Rexer Show wonders if adding -5 volts DC to a Miss Pac-Man Galaga Class of 81 board will fry it. And Jumping Journal wonders why his game isn't coining up anymore. So Tim, let's take these one at a time. So on the 412-in-1 from Jeff, he's getting no signal. If he just cuts pin 27 from the ground, will that fix the issue?
It could. Yeah, probably.
Right. It might.
It might, and it's definitely recommended. Just make sure when you cut it that you leave yourself plenty of room to reconnect it if you ever needed to, or put in a different game.
Right. Okay, Greg, sending the -5 volts DC, did he fry his Galaga Class 81 board that way?
Probably. Probably, Greg. I'm sorry, but
are you sure?
Well, it's not supposed to have it, right?
Right.
So when you hook up something that's not supposed to have, things like that could happen. So it's probably an issue with the board somewhere, yes.
Okay.
But it not necessarily was caused by that, but it's pretty coincidental if not.
Sure. And then Jumping General, why isn't his game coining up? Is it the broken fan in the power supply?
It shouldn't be. It's a problem, but it's probably not causing the issue. I would check all the wires and make sure there's some kind, probably more of a wiring issue or something in the trail for going from the coin door all the way back to the board. Could just be some simple wiring issue or a bad pin or solder joint or something like that. But more than likely, it doesn't have anything to do with your power supply unless it's not working. Like the fan is indicative of it getting too hot, and it's not actually putting out the correct power.
Okay, well that covers that. Before we go on, Tim, though, I got an answer. It says, what pin would be 27? So in the JAMA standard, which is the Chinese JAMA standard, technically pin 27 would be an additional button.
Right,
it would not be a ground.
It's the one that you add.
Right, so when you have the 412-in-1, pin 27 is not a ground like it is for the rest of the JAMA standard games. And so what ends up happening is that if you ground that pin and the game uses the JAMA standard, sometimes the boards will act funky. And that's what we're talking about with that. But I'm going to go ahead and show all this real quick so we can do that. So Jeff, let's check the power supply first before we assume it's pin 27. Check the wires on your JAMA harness, especially the video output. If you do decide to cut pin 27, leave enough room so you can reconnect it. And Tim, I took this screenshot of the video that we have on it where you can see I left enough room that if I need to reconnect it, I could.
Yes.
And so that's always important so you can reconnect
Yeah, good 4 inches or so.
Now, so something to keep in mind here on Greg's question is that sending -5 volts DC to the -5 volts pin should not do anything.
Yeah, because it doesn't go anywhere.
Because it's not hooked up. This is the schematic over to the left-hand side here, and it doesn't go anywhere. Now, if you sent the -5 volts somewhere else,
that's
a problem, okay? So, and that could cause an issue with the board, okay? But if you sent the -5 to the -5 volts pin, it's probably okay. It's maybe another issue with the board. Right. But it's all about where you sent it. If you didn't send the -5 to the -5 volts pin, if you sent it to like the +5 volts pin, yeah, you may have had a call.
That's the question.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then on Jumping General's question, yes, a broken power supply fan is not a good thing. And Tim, we should mention you can replace those.
Right.
So you can open up the power supply a lot of times, and it's usually just a connector.
Yeah.
You can just unconnect. You can just
4
disconnect
screws
it.
and a connector.
Yeah, 4 screws in a connector. Disconnect it. Reconnect a new one. Good to go. But that should not be causing the coin up issue. Trace your coin and ground wires back to the harness. Make sure they are making a good connection. And Tim, he did write back this afternoon saying it was a wiring issue.
Good.
So that one was fixed, and he's here tonight. So if he wants to chime in and tell us that again, he can. So again, Jeff's question on the 412-in-1. You can cut pin 27 and it may be causing your problem, but it could also just be you're not getting power or that you don't have the video output wires hooked up correctly from your chassis. So keep those in mind. On Greg's question about the -5, yes, the -5 could cause that, but as long as you send it to the right pin, it should be fine. Could be something else with your board. And then Jumping General, definitely a wiring issue, and like I said, he already replied back and told us that. Tim, do you have anything else on any of these before we move on?
I'd just be curious if he replaced the fan.
Oh, yeah. He said he was having some monitor issues, and I gave him some... We wrote back some stuff on that as far as getting those taken care of. But I don't think he said anything about the fan. So
We talked about it earlier about replacing wiring a lot. And, like every time we get a new game, I would say the first thing I do is replace the power cord. The second thing, or I might check more wiring, but one of the top 5 things I do is go and check all the fans.
Sure.
And that includes fans leaving, going in, going out on the power supply. A game needs to, it's on there for a reason. Cooling and keeping a game at a certain level of heat really makes a lot of difference. So by all means, when you're PMing or looking at your games, make sure, and a lot of dust buildup on those fans are really making them work harder, and getting that dust and stuff off of there will really help prolong the life of that stuff.
For sure. So, Jump General says I end up putting a new power supply in. Even better. Yeah. Even better. So, definitely a good way to go. So.
For sure.
Okay, Tim. Well, we were going to move on to news, but let's do a little Chuck E. Cheese discussion. So, if you're in the live chat tonight, when was the last time you went to Chuck E. Cheese? That's what I want to know. When was the last time you went? So my kids, we drive by Chuck E. Cheese periodically, and they had been begging me, we want to go to Chuck E. Cheese. We want to go to Chuck E. Cheese. And I was like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you right when you guys get out of school, because y'all get out of school before everybody else does, and we'll go on a Thursday afternoon when nobody's there.
Yeah, not busy.
Right, exactly. When nobody's there and it's not busy. So we went, and Tim, there were several games that were down that Thursday.
Okay.
I mentioned the Let's Go Jungle was booting to the BIOS, which means the PC hard drive had probably failed or that needed to be reimaged. And then some of the other games, there were a lot of issues going on, and the place was not very clean. There was like confetti and stuff, like they had a party and nobody picked up all that stuff on the floor, even though the employees weren't really doing anything about it.
Well, they knew I was coming today, so it was pretty clean.
So it was fine. No, the kids still had a good time. We still had a good time. Majority of games worked, and we did instead of doing the time card, we actually did credits because they want to earn tickets, right?
Okay.
And so we had a good time. So good, in fact, they wanted to go back the next week, and when we went back the next week, it was cleaner. Almost all the games were working. Mm-hmm. I should mention the first time the skee ball lanes, like only one skee ball lane worked.
Wow.
I mean, and a lot of the balls were gone, and I know that's hard to keep skee balls in there.
Balance.
Yeah, it's hard to keep them in there because kids will toss them on other games. They'll throw them all over But we came back, skee balls were working. Let's Go Jungle was working, which is one of my son's favorite games, and so had a better impression the second time. But the first time was kind of rough. But you know, Tim, my kids had a good time, and they liked the floor.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's an interactive dance floor that you can dance on. They did like and it's free, which is nice. And so they liked the floor. They liked the kiddie ride style stuff with the pictures and everything, where take your picture, give you like a little thing. I was trying to think the games that they liked the most. There was a SpongeBob soccer game I think that they really liked. That was one of the ones, and of course, like I said, Let's Go Jungle was a big hit for them.
So value for your money. I know it's got to be more expensive than price of everything's going up. How did you feel?
Here's the thing: the biggest arcade here is Grand Slam.
Okay.
Compared to Grand Slam, Chuck E. Cheese is a bargain.
Oh, okay.
Because the problem with Grand Slam is that every game is not one credit. At Chuck E. Cheese, every game is a credit.
Okay.
So if I buy 30 credits...
You get to play 30 games.
30 games, right? At Grand Slam, I could buy 30 credits and I may get 4 games.
Right.
Depending on what games I play. Right? And so, as a bargain, pretty good.
Okay.
Actually, when you compare it to other amusements, you know what I'm saying? So I felt pretty good. The time cards, they had a deal on their website where you could get a 1 hour card for $20. And if my kids were into that, I would have been like, that's the way to do it, right? But they want to earn tickets. Like, they want to not only play, but they want to get something.
So the hour time one no longer gives tickets?
No, I don't think so. Did it give tickets before?
It used to.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I did not realize this.
I mean, I haven't been in several years, but I worked there in several years.
I didn't think it gave credits. That's
Ours at Daddy's did not.
Okay. I was about to say, some of them do, some of them don't. If I would have known that, I may have gone with the hour time card. Either way, it was basically the same price for the 1 hour as it was for the credits. Like, either way, we got 1 hour play. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it didn't matter that much.
That they know this.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, it's like it balances
Unlimited
out.
play sounds great, but realistically, you get about the same.
Yeah, it's about the same. It's a wash. So, I wouldn't say it was any better or any worse. But we had a good time. Nice thing about the hours, you're not limited by your kid not wanting to swipe it or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So they can swipe it when they want to, kind of thing. When they're out, they're out. And so, for the most part, though, it was actually a good experience. The second time more than the first, I would say. And I would recommend it. And my kids had fun. They keep asking to go back. So
they had a good time. That's all that matters, right?
Right, exactly. So, you went to the same Chuck E. Cheese today.
Yeah.
How was your experience?
It was good. I did an inspection there. They get a yearly inspection from us.
Okay. And
it was a very good visit. So I just,
Did you walk the game room a little bit?
I did walk the game room some.
I know that's not your purview now, but...
Yeah, I was more or less looking at the floors, walls, and ceilings and making sure everything was clean. And it was very clean. So, and of course, they didn't know I was coming, but... You know, clean is clean.
I will say
better than not being clean.
I will say this: it was clean. Like, even though there was like confetti and stuff on the ground,
it
was still clean.
We're not talking about dirt that would attract bugs,
right? Exactly.
More like confetti that hadn't been
right? Exactly.
Which is a lot of difference,
right? Exactly. And you know, like they don't have tickets to deal with anymore, which must be nice. Like, you know, just tickets on the floor and stuff like that.
I went to Rounders Pizza the other day, and I don't go there very often. But when I ate it, I was like, this tastes like old school Chuck E. Cheese pizza. It wasn't, which was good. Like if you made it just right.
Right.
If the dough was right, you can go to, I heard people, Chuck E. tastes like cardboard. Well, on Saturdays, I'll be honest, it's really hard to time that. Pizza has to be eaten at a certain time, at a certain dough level, and how you time that is very tricky. I was like, it kind of reminded me of that, so maybe I'll just have to go and eat a pizza and take my nephews before long.
I love Rounders. Rounders, I can't say enough things. It's a local pizza joint here, and I can't say enough good things about them. They're awesome.
The pizza by the slice, you can buy it by the slice there.
So, and they have more than just pizza. Mm-hmm. And we hung out there and watched a football game, like a Dallas Cowboy game one time with some of the fellas from church. It was fun. But anyway, that's off. I want to go to the live chat real quick and see all the stuff with the with Chuck E. Cheese real quick. And Delusional says, went to Chuck E. Cheese just prior to COVID in 2019 in Bronx, New York. That's the last time. Digital Jazz Arcade, I went to Chuck E. Cheese a few years ago. Let's see. You guys should do a maintenance checklist. Ground, clean fans, slam switch, rear door interlock. You used to have those at Chuck E., right?
I did have those, and I may still have access to some notes that I used to have. Not a bad idea, thank you.
Because, I mean, that would be like the ultimate list, would be the one from Chuck E. to me.
It really was a good list.
So, let's see. Digital Jazz Arcade, he says, a few years ago in Beaverton, Oregon. So, Alan says, my kids are in high school, so it has been a few years. They love Chuck E. Cheese. Alan says, Dave & Buster's is a lot more expensive. This is true. Mm-hmm. But Dave & Buster's atmosphere is a lot more fun.
For adults, anyway, right? Exactly. For adults, anyway, right?
Dave & Buster's is definitely more expensive, but it sure is a whole lot of fun for the parents, too.
Right.
So, and there's more to do at our Dave & Buster's than there is just games.
Right.
Like, there's pool. There's a
golf
simulator.
Yeah,
they got bowling at some of them. So, like, Dave & Buster's is usually... It's more of an FEC than it is, like, just entertainment. Plus, I go to Dave & Buster's to play the games, but I like the food typically, too.
Yeah,
right? Like,
exactly.
I like the food at Dave & Buster's. At Chuck E. Cheese, I tolerate the pizza.
And you can watch the game.
Right. You can watch the game and play the game.
Yeah. Instead of listening to a show.
Right, exactly. So, why aren't there any, like, sports TVs in Chuck E. Cheese?
This has been a question of debate for years, and we always said you could get, if you just had the main game, like tonight's game,
right,
on one TV.
Exactly.
And I guess the idea behind it is exactly what you did. They don't want the dad to go and to watch sports and the kids play. They want the parents to go out and play with them.
Yeah.
Or to be involved.
Right.
And so, I think maybe it keeps that from being a focus instead of the kids and their playtime.
For sure. I understand that, Tim, but it's kind of a bummer. I mean, just so I can peek at the score every so often. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You don't have to put the game up there, just like the score bug.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, just let me have the score bug. That's it.
Kind of like on your phone where you watch the play-by-play or whatever, but it's not really.
Right.
And it's not exactly.
I can just peek over there and see what the score is.
Yeah, see what the score is.
That's all I need.
I'm okay with that.
Right. So I guess we'll leave our Chuck E. Cheese chat there. If anybody else wants to chime in for the last time they went to Chuck E. Cheese, please let us know. Me and Tim have obviously been this month. So and Tim yesterday. So I mean, it's it's one of those things. I have kids that are that age, so obviously they like it. But it is I actually felt like it's a good value, and they're running a lot of specials, Tim, for the summer and everything that are really good. I think they're running like this thing where you can buy a summer pass. Have you seen this? So the summer
2
pass,
months
right?
of
Or is it 3
unlimited
months?
play. 2 months. I
Okay,
saw a
2
sign
months.
today.
I was about to say
2 months. So they don't give you the whole summer, but 2 months of unlimited play.
June and July is all you need. I mean, August is kind of like August. You're getting ready for school anyway.
Sounds like a pretty good deal.
Yeah, so for sure. Jumping General asks, when will Michael from some of the older repair videos appear in a live show? How's he doing?
Great.
I haven't talked to Michael in a while.
Great question.
We were sending him questions for him to do the videos on there for a while. But he is just moving around so much and doing stuff all the time, and I need to reconnect with him. Michael, if you're watching this, we miss you, bud. So hopefully we can reconnect at some point. Guys, hanging out with Michael is so much fun. And I miss the times when me, Tim, and him were all just hanging out. So let's see what else we have here. I think we're caught up.
Okay.
We're getting a little bit of ambient light from the outside. Do you see this?
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like we're a little lighter than usual. So there you go. Alan says, I like the Star Wars pod at D&B. Yes, Dave & Buster's usually has the Star Wars, like the full-in pods that you can step in, which are really awesome.
I think they do. They have more of the institutional, bigger games, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they have exclusives that you can't play anywhere else. Like, they get exclusives that you can only play at Dave & Buster's. So
Smart business on their end.
Absolutely. So, okay, Tim, let us move on to some news real quick. We got this Stern Pinball announced that their next new game will be John Wick.
Okay.
So Stern Pinball has announced John Wick, their second cornerstone title of 2024, designed by Elliot Eisman. The theme is based on the popular quadrilogy of movies starring Keanu Reeves. The Pro Edition starts at $6,999, the Premium Edition at $9,699, and the Limited Edition at $12,999. Each version features unique artwork, with the Premium version sporting a neon noir aesthetic and additional custom toys and features. Tim, obviously, you and me have been priced out of the market for new games, but hopefully those who like that. Oh, have you seen John Wick?
Yeah.
I have not.
Really?
I have not seen any of them.
Well, I say that. I have not watched, sit down and watch the trilogy or nothing, but I have, it's like I've caught a lot of pieces, enough maybe to say I've watched the first movie.
Okay.
But I really should, it's kind of like one of those things I've been wanting to do, is just sit down and watch it sometime. Yeah. I'm sure I'll like it. I know, I have a lot of fans.
I'm going on vacation this month. I'm going to Canada to visit some family, and I'm going to be on the plane. And so maybe I'm going to load up John Wick.
Good idea.
All 4 of them, and watch them, because I just haven't had a chance to watch them. So it's a good time to watch them, because the kids are occupied with their tablets, and so I can be occupied with mine for a little bit, and hopefully maybe we'll see it. So I have not seen them. If you have seen John Wick, let us know what you think. Everybody that I've heard that's seen it says it's good if you like action sequences. So, and I do. So, very loose storyline, I hear, though. You know, just enough of a story to keep you interested, and then just a whole lot of action set pieces.
I agree.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I like the Transporter series too with Jason Statham. Same thing, right?
Yep.
So loose story, lots of action.
I think that's a good way to describe it, John. It's a good way. Yeah.
Like Transporter?
Yeah, it's like Transporter.
I love the Transporter series. It's one of Jason Statham, man. His action sequences, so good. So. Delusional says John Wick is a fantasy franchise. Say, yeah, that's probably good.
Yeah,
so
it's not. True. It's not as deep as like the Matrix,
right?
You know, where there's, like you said, there's this huge underlying
story and
like
everything
you said,
like that.
Just an action, good.
Right, set piece to set piece, action point to action point kind of thing.
Right.
I'm fine with that. So, but let us know what you think. If you've seen John Wick, let us know your opinion. And are you looking forward to a John Wick pinball machine? That's what we're wondering. And speaking of pinball machines here, Tim, we've got a remake. Funhouse remake to be released by Pedretti Pinball, Tim. Pedretti Pinball has released the details of their first title in their planned series of Williams Bally remakes. Funhouse remake. And Tim, I think if you're going to pick a Bally Williams to do first, I would say this is a really good one to pick. So, the game will be available in 2 versions, Classic Edition and Midnight Limited Edition. Both models include the Mystery Mirror 4-inch LCD panel, introduced with Pedretti's Rudy's Nightmare 2.0 kit, and a 21.5-inch LCD display panel in place of the game's original 2x16 digit alphanumeric display. So you get a full LCD instead of those little alphanumerics that they used to have on the original.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of other improvements that they've made, Tim, and you can see the cabinets if you go to the Pinball News website. Tim, I love Funhouse. It's a fun game to play for me. I don't know if it's in my... It may be in my top 20, not probably in my top 10.
Okay.
What about you?
Fair enough.
Where does Funhouse lie for you?
You know, to be honest, I play it, like every time I go to the festival, I play a game or two. Then I'm going. Mm-hmm. I've never really just sat down and got the rules and never owned one. Probably, if I played it a lot more, I probably would really like it. It's always been a fun game, but just not one I've ever owned or had access to play that much.
So most of what I played them in real life, but where I really probably came to love the game was in playing it in like Pinball Arcade.
Yeah.
You know, and playing digital versions of it. Because once you play the digital versions are real good at teaching you the rule set. Mm-hmm. And once you get the rules down, then you can really enjoy the game. And I think that's where I really started to love Funhouse, was by playing the digital version.
As I said, it's pretty. I know there's depth in there that I'd have
Bright
never
Up Pinball was
gotten.
the same way for me. Bright Up Pinball was a game that I would play the physical table the first couple of times. I was like, yeah, it's okay. And it wasn't until I really sat down and started playing the digital version, got the rules down, how to do everything, that I was like, man, this is a great pinball machine. So, it's really, if you put a lot of time into it, or if you have time to invest in a table. And the digital pinball is great because it gives you an opportunity to learn rules and things. That's really a great way for you to kind of discover a love for a pinball machine, because once you got the rules down, then you kind of understand what it's all about, right?
Right.
And so, but Funhouse is really fun. Once you get the rule set down, it's fun hitting the shots. And Jersey Jack, I think, says it's his favorite game ever. Yeah. So, I mean, just to give you an idea. So, But anyway, Remake coming. And like I said, if you're going to remake one, that's probably in a lot of people's top 5 pinball machines of all time.
Probably so.
There you go. Over on the live chat, Bobby says Nightmare on Elm Remake is the one I would buy. So he may be a Nightmare on Elm Street pinball remake. Digital Jazz Arcade Funhouse is a great game. Yeah, Funhouse is fun. It really is. And Rudy is taunting you the entire time, which is kind of fun too. So it is a really good, fun
It'd be
game.
interesting to see the modern version of it and then really get to play it.
Yeah, I remember seeing tables with the 2.0 kit installed, but I don't think I ever played the 2.0 kit. Okay. So I've seen some Funhouses that had the 2.0 Pedretti kit installed, but I never played one with it. I've seen them, but didn't play them. And so the fact that they're remaking it with that kit kind of in mind, I think gives you a little bit of kind of an extra value, if you will, because you're getting the classic Funhouse, but you're also getting that 2.0 remake on top of it. So,
I see.
Which is cool. On the pinball machine front, Joe says no more theme pins. We need an interactive game like Junkyard or Dozer. Let's see. Keep their kids out of their phones. I'm old. LOL.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, look at. I mean, there have been more unique themes. He says interactive game. I mean, what, Dialed In, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I know it's a phone-based game, but Dialed In is very interactive, right? We had a Black Knight, which is a unique theme to pinball. I was trying to think of some of the other ones that we've had recently.
Yeah.
But, we've seen more unique pins come up with all these manufacturers that are coming out. Everybody's coming out with like some different unique themed pinball machines. Tim, if you're looking for a pinball machine now, there's probably a manufacturer out there that has what you want. The question is, do you want to pay for it?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So, because they're manufacturers have been popping up all over the place, and they're basically giving everybody a nice variety of things to try. So, what's the one that was so popular? Total Nuclear Annihilation. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at that. I mean, that thing just, golly, that thing went crazy, right? Like, and that's a very uniquely themed pinball machine. Like I said, if you're looking for some pinball, it's out there, I promise. So. Tim, on to our next story, and this one is about Atari. And Atari has acquired the Intellivision brand and the rights to 200 titles.
Wow.
And Tim, we kind of broke this. It was it came up just, basically in the morning and kind of caught fire after that. But Atari has acquired the Intellivision brand along with the rights to over 200 games. As a result, Intellivision Entertainment LLC will rebrand and will continue to work on developing and distributing the Amico game console. So, guys, as you may know, Intellivision was working on this Amico game console. So basically, they've sold the name Intellivision to Atari, but the company itself is going to be called something else, and is still going to work on the Amico console.
Okay.
But this is a way to give them, I'm sure, a big infusion of cash to work on that, right? So, Atari CEO Wade Rosen states that the acquisition was a very rare opportunity to unite former competitors and bring together fans of Atari, Intellivision, and the golden age of gaming. So there you go, Tim. What do you think about acquiring just the brand rights? Not necessarily like the company, just the brand.
Well, if retro theme stuff, think about now what they could turn around and sell to like Arcade 1-Up.
Sure.
Or whatever, or just T-shirts and stuff. It's probably a good deal.
I think so. And, in the Intellivision brand, I don't know how much it's worth nowadays, but when you pair it with Atari and what they already have licensing-wise, I think it adds a lot of value to them. You know what I'm saying? As a brand standalone, I don't know if it really makes that much difference. But when you pair it with Atari and the other offerings that they've acquired, I think it does make a lot of sense for them. And then they are going to license back the name for some of the titles they want to use for the Amico. Okay, so I guess the new Intellivision Corporation, whatever it's going to be, they want to be able to use the names of the Intellivision games on some of their stuff, and it sounds like there's already a licensing deal in place for that if they want to do that.
Just funny that, growing up in that era that Atari now owns them. After all these years, 50 years later, they own them.
Right.
It's weird.
Exactly.
Or
Delusional
they're still around.
Delusional says Atari needs to release an anniversary edition with the Intellivision games, just like Atari's similar title. I agree. That'd be great.
And they probably will.
Yeah. Let's see. Peter says Funhouse is awesome. He likes Funhouse too, Tim.
Okay.
Bobby says he's on the hunt for some game discs for 90s mall virtuality Cybermind pods, if anyone has one. So, do you guys remember those virtuality systems, Tim? The VR style systems that you'd see in malls and stuff? I guess Bobby's looking for the CDs for those. If you guys have those, let him know. So. Okay, now, Tim, sometimes you see a story and it just infuriates you to no end.
Yeah, this was one of them.
This is definitely one of them. And this is here in our part of the world. Wichita Falls, Texas girl breaks arcade screen. And this is from KLAW, Tim. And basically it says a woman at the Deep End Arcade in Wichita Falls, Texas was caught on camera breaking the LCD monitor on a Fast and Furious Superbikes game after losing to her friend. After leaving shortly after breaking the screen, the woman comes back to take a picture of the damage she caused. Fortunately, the arcade was able to replace the screen and get the game working again.
Right. I hope that she got in trouble too. I hope.
Yeah, because that's not a cheap replacement.
No.
I mean, and I'm sure they replaced it with an arcade quality one, and so
probably
obviously
yeah,
exactly. There was obviously some cost involved in that. Guys, you gotta be careful with these things if you're playing. But Tim, a lot of people who replied to our post on that are like, why didn't that have like some protection glass over it or something? I was wondering the same thing. And Tim, I've seen this cabinet before. And so, I'm pretty sure that, I don't remember it having protection glass on it. But that seems like an oversight by the manufacturer, for sure.
Maybe, but then again, this is still pretty rare. I mean, most people are going to play the game and move on. They're not going to hit it or throw something at it. But then again, if it's at Chuck E. Cheese or somewhere where there's skee balls around, I would definitely put protector on it.
Somewhere where there's skee balls around, like that.
Why they're all missing.
Exactly, there's a reason why they're all missing.
Yeah, they're all missing.
You find them in every other game, right, Tim?
Yep, all the time.
There you go. So please, people, if you're watching this and you're not an arcade operator, be kind to games if you see them out, especially light gun games. Don't throw guns down, please. There's holders there for a reason, right? Don't throw stuff at screens. Just don't cause a lot of headache for those of us who are trying to provide hours of amusement for you. So that's what it comes down to. So, Tim, anything else on that story?
No.
Okay. Before I move on here, Joe says the backstory for Atari Television is super interesting. He says. Alan says, I am so glad I did not do the Amico Kickstarter. Yeah, they had a Kickstarter for that system, Tim, that's still not out. And I think a lot of people have left, and there was a lot of rumors that it wasn't getting done. I mean, who knows when we're going to see that thing, right? So, maybe the infusion of cash from the brand sale will help.
I think that's why they did that.
For sure. Let's see. Digital Jazz Arcade says, if games make you that mad, just stop going to the arcade. Maybe true. Let's see. Nate Berg, I have a Buck Hunter I had to change the monitor on as somebody whacked the screen with the gun as they were angry. So did they? I guess that one's got the shotgun style. So
did double damage, broke the guy.
Yeah, exactly, and the monitor. Golly, come on, guys. People don't act like they did in the 80s. And equipment is not like it was in the 80s either.
Right.
Because you got to remember, CRT televisions, guys, there's a lot you can do to that thing, and it's still going to be okay. So breaking the glass on the front of a CRT, tremendously hard. So especially with just throwing like a gun at it. Plus, they would put plexi over it, right? Or even real glass over it. So you just replace a lot of times the glass over it instead. So it's just we have LCD panels now, and LCDs can't take the damage that the CRTs could. So. Bobby says, many a quarter eaten by games. Never once that I hit one. Always got the attendant to give me a free game. Usually more than one. That's right. If you tell your arcade attendant that it ate your quarter, it ate your credit, almost every time they're going to give you more.
Yeah, it sounded like she was just mad because her friend beat her.
Exactly. Wasn't the game's fault.
Imagine dating this girl. Wow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and they said they're going to release high-res photos of her. They haven't done that yet. So when you see the high-res photos,
We'll make her famous.
That's right, make her famous. We'll put her on America's Most Wanted, and we'll get that $2,000 back for that monitor or whatever. It is.
Yeah, if she goes in David and Buster's, it's going to flag and say, like a terrorist watch list here.
There you go. Okay, now Tim, we talked about this earlier in the show because we talked about NBA, but this was probably the biggest news that we had over the last month, and Tim, I'm super excited about it, to be honest with you. And this is that Raw Thrills and Play Mechanix have teamed up for their NBA Superstars game. So NBA Superstars is a 3-on-3 basketball game that features 120 NBA players, including my two favorites, Kyrie and Luka, across all 30 basketball teams, Tim,
Nice.
in the NBA. The game includes the voice work of Tim Kitzrow of NBA Jam fame.
Oh, boom!
He's getting hot.
Yeah.
He's on fire. All that kind of stuff. That's Tim.
Okay.
And then the gameplay is enhanced by the ability to create online accounts and track game results and statistics, which is great. That means you can go to any arcade and play your guy, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome because, before you were kind of restricted. If you had a profile on one arcade cabinet, it wasn't moving around, right? It was stuck basically on that one. But now you got the option to hook it up. Your operator can hook that up to the internet. You can have that custom profile or that custom character at every single NBA Superstars cabinet anywhere. And then the cabinet features an animated LED stadium board at the top, a 75-inch main display, and camera flash simulating marquee lights, which actually flash, which is cool looking if you've seen the trailer. Really cool stuff. Tim, I think this is long overdue. I'm looking forward to whenever arcade has one.
Take my money.
That's right.
Where can we play?
Take all of the money.
Let's go play.
Especially since Dallas will probably be awesome in it.
Yeah.
So I get to play my two favorite players. But yeah, looking forward to it. And yeah, 4 joysticks, not 6, even though it's 3-on-3. That's what we've heard too. So it is 3-on-3 basketball, but only a 4 joystick setup has been announced. Now, that'd be awesome if they did the 6-player setup at some point. So probably depends on popularity though, because I'm sure a 6-player setup would be expensive.
Right.
So go out, find your local arcade, play this thing, put all the money in it, and hopefully at some point they'll make a 6-player version of it, because I think that'd be just fantastic. Gameplay looks on point, graphics look great, and you can hear Tim Kitzrow say all the stuff like he did in the NBA Jam, Hang Time, Showtime games. And so, Tim, we haven't had anything since Showtime, really, right?
No.
I mean, as far as NBA Jam style play, so looking forward to something new. So,
Interesting.
For sure. So NBA Superstar is coming to an arcade near you soon. And with that, Tim, I think we're going to wrap it up so we can get done before the NBA final starts.
Okay.
We do, even though I had to apologize earlier to Digital Jazz Arcade, we do want to remind people that we do want your arcade-related videos. If you want some free advertising for your YouTube channel, we're looking for people to submit short videos, 10 minutes or less, about arcade-related topics. Send a link of your video to questions@arcaderepairtips.com, and our staff will review it. If we like it, we'll use it during one of our live show episodes. Make sure you put in a plug for your channel so people will know where to find you. We look forward to seeing your submissions, and Digital Jazz Arcade, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that we feature your video on the next live show. Okay, I'm going to make sure I get approval from everybody,
right?
And we'll do it. So, because I saw I've watched one of your videos. I'm going to let everybody kind of vote on which one they like the most, and we'll put that on the next live show. So.
Is that a good segue to talk about the next live show, John?
Oh, yeah. Before we get on to our contact information, let's talk about the next live show. So, as you guys know who watch the live show, our show typically occurs on the first Thursday night of the month at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. And if you're looking at a calendar, you will notice that the next first Thursday night of the month is July 4th, Independence Day. We are not going to be doing a show on Independence Day.
Right.
Okay.
Got plans.
Right. So we will not have a show on the first Thursday night of July. Now, right now, tentatively, we believe we're going to move that up to the 3rd.
Wednesday
So
night.
Wednesday, July 3rd will be the first episode, or will be the episode for July instead. And that's just so we can work around the Independence Day holiday. Me and Tim have plans. He's off. He has a 4-day weekend. I've got basically a 3.5-day weekend probably. And so we're going to just enjoy that. And hopefully you will be too. And you'll be out with your friends doing stuff and watching fireworks instead of watching us.
Right.
So that's what we want. And so instead of having it on the first Thursday night of the month, Tim, we've moved it before, and typically it's one of our faults. I don't feel like this one is our fault.
Right.
I feel like we've been trying to
That's
do
the
the
way it
first
goes.
Thursday night of the month, but Independence Day is taking place, and
Every
so
6 or 7 years on the July 4th.
yeah,
Wednesday.
there you go. So
Something
we
like
will be moving the July live show right now tentatively to the 3rd, but if plans change, stay tuned to our social media pages and we'll post whatever changes we have there. We will also post you will see on our YouTube page whatever the next live show link is, usually the week of or the week before.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe next month, or I'll try to get it the week before to give you a little bit more heads up for that. But right now, tentatively Wednesday, July 3rd at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. And we'll let you know if that changes via our social media channels. And speaking of our social media channels, Tim, let's talk about some contact information. You can contact us at our main email address at questions@arcaderepairtips.com, questions@arcaderepairtips.com. Make sure you put live show in the subject to get it mentioned on the show if you'd like to do that, or we'll just answer it whenever we get around to it. Again, that is questions@arcaderepairtips.com. We also have our YouTube page, which if you guys are watching this live or after the fact, you know about. But if you're listening to this on the Question and Answer podcast feed, you may want to watch the video for this show. And if you do, make sure you go to youtube.arcaderepairtips.com. And comments from the last live show, we try to cover on the next episode. In fact, I think Jumping General had left his question on the last live show, or maybe the one before. And so we do try to cover those on the next live show when possible. And again, if you're listening to this on the podcast feed, you will need to go to the YouTube video version of this show in order to hear the after show, which we'll put on here in just a bit. And speaking of that podcast feed, Tim, you can subscribe on our iTunes page at itunes.arcaderepairtips.com, or on a Spotify page at spotify.arcaderepairtips.com, or our Audible page at audible.arcaderepairtips.com, or wherever fine podcasts are aggregated. And Tim, I saw that Spotify is going up in price again, which is great. So I am a big fan of Spotify. I do think it's better than the rest of the services, but it'd be great if they could stop going up on the price. Thank you.
That would be nice.
But I do like Spotify, and if you listen there, great. If you listen somewhere else, that's great too. But if you would, please leave a review on one of those platforms. That really does help people to discover our podcast and give us a little bit more exposure out there. So either on our iTunes, Spotify, or Audible pages, you can leave reviews there. Please do. And as I mentioned before, if you're listening to the audio feed of this, make sure you check out our YouTube page for the video version of this episode if you want to hear the after show, where basically we talk about all and any topics that we want, including the NBA Finals, which I'm sure we'll talk more about. And then we also have our social media pages, Tim. We have our Facebook page at facebook.arcaderepairtips.com, facebook.arcaderepairtips.com. We also have our Twitter/X feed at twitter.arcaderepairtips.com. See, I put the X in there, Tim.
You did.
So I may change it to x.arcaderepairtips.com if I'm motivated. I'm not right now. So twitter.arcaderepairtips.com. And Tim, I did fix the cross-posting a bit, so that now when things are posted on our Facebook page and they cross-post to Twitter/X, they should look a little bit better. So those of you guys who are following us on Twitter/X, hopefully the posts come out a little bit better than they normally were, because there's, Twitter/X closed down their APIs a little bit, and so we've had to adjust that in order to get some of the content over there. So hopefully you guys are having a better experience over there with some of the changes that we've recently made. So, and I want to thank Mark, too, for all of his contributions this month to posting stuff and all that kind of stuff. Mark does a great job as our community manager and giving us feedback on stuff. We greatly appreciate Mark and his contributions. So, Tim, anything else here before we wrap up the show? You want to give any after-show topics that you want to talk about besides basketball?
We'll talk about, we got to talk about the basketball game tonight. Maybe you want to mention the hockey our hockey team did.
Yeah, we'll talk about some NHL. Kind of disappointed right now, but there's another Jonathan Leung that's really happy, so we'll talk about that. And then I can talk some UFL. The Renegade's not doing so hot, but we won some games since the last time we talked, which is good.
I want to talk about a show, and I'll let you guys guess. I met one of the actors.
Whoa!
Here in East Texas.
Big news.
Big news.
Okay.
Thought it was kind of cool.
Okay.
So we'll get into that. That's
Cool.
one of the shows that I've been watching, and literally ran in. Well, I noticed there was a crowd of people. I wondered what was going on, and it ended up that he was at a restaurant here in East Texas. So.
Cool. And then I will be talking about some of the movies and TV shows I've been watching. Tim, I saw 4 movies, which is more than usual since the last time we got together. I saw The Fall Guy, I saw Back to Black, I saw Argyle, and I saw Garfield.
Okay.
I will tell you about all of them and what I thought. And I want to thank Tim for his contributions to my movie fund by giving me some Google Play money last month, or for my birthday.
Oh, good.
That has now been
You got
spent.
to go.
Yeah,
Good.
well, some of the on-demand stuff.
Oh,
so
good.
we paid for it. The Fall Guy was because of you. So
And I saw one that you watched too, and we'll talk about that.
Oh, okay. And TV shows. I saw Knuckles, which is based on the Sonic franchise and everything like that. And we'll talk about, like Tim mentioned, some other ones as well. So if you want to stay tuned for the after show, that's great. We're going to wrap it up pretty quickly because, again, NBA Finals and all. But if this is your stopping point, if you're getting off here, we want to thank you for joining us tonight for the live show. We will be back next month, probably on July 3rd for the next live show. We hope that you join us then. And thank you to all the live chat people. Round of applause for you guys. You guys always make it fun and exciting, and we just love having you here. So we're glad that you guys could be here tonight to join us for the show. And I want to thank Tim for being here. And we've been doing a lot of these, Tim. I feel like we keep going and going and going. Right about the time, like, I think, well, nobody's written in this month. We'll get like 10 questions. Oh, there they are. So it is what it is. But I want to thank all those who wrote in to us about their different arcade-related issues, and I hope we are able to help you out tonight. And again, you can stay tuned for the after show if you're watching this in about 5 to 10 minutes, or otherwise, again, if this is your off-ramp. Thank you again. And remember, here at Arcade Repair Tips, when you fix the game,
you play the game.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you in July, or we'll see you here in about 5 to 10 for the after show. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Arcade Repair Tips live show. All of our past episodes are available on our website at arcaderepairtips.com or on our YouTube page. This show is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please consult a professional before attempting to repair any coin-operated machines yourself. The preceding program is a Varcade Entertainment production.
And we're back with the after show for episode 88. Tim, how'd the live show go for you?
I think it went pretty good. Some unique questions, and the fact that some of the people were here in the live chat really helped.
Absolutely. Oh, Russell just chimed in with $20. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your donation. It is greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
We are glad that you made the donation, and we will put it to good use. As in, hopefully, we'll have enough money to pay for dinner next month. Hopefully.
Yeah.
We make very little money, but Tim, I do want to make an announcement. We're almost to 11,000 subscribers.
Wow.
We need like 100 more. So
yeah.
something like that.
So share us.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends.
Subscribe, please. So we're very close. But anyway, thank you, Russell. Much appreciated. Sorry the break took a little longer than usual. I had to get the NBA Finals up here, Tim.
Yeah.
So we're actually watching it while we're talking to you guys. We got the pregame on, and all the Boston people.
Who you going for, guys? I know we're, of course, for Dallas, but any big Boston fans out there? Your team looks really good.
There's got to be Celtics
It's going to be a good
fans
matchup, I think.
I was about to say, it's got to be Celtics fans out there because,
sure.
Man, Celtics have been around forever.
I love the Celtics growing up. That's my favorite team.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's got to be fans out there. But anyway. So, we're excited about that. So, we got the TV on. But we're still going to talk to you. Tim, I mentioned in the regular live show that I am going on vacation this month. Going to Canada to visit some family. Looking forward to that. Maybe I can check out some arcades. Last time, we scheduled like every day to do something. And my wife and my daughter got to check out an arcade in a mall. But I kind of want to go to like a barcade kind of bar arcade setup, right?
Sure.
So maybe at some point we'll get to do that. I want to go around, kind of see some, visit some of the local spots. Most of where we went before was like the touristy places, like mountain areas and stuff like that. But I kind of want to just kind of see the city in Calgary and everything like that. And so hopefully we're going to get a chance to do that. So when we come back on July 3rd, I will have already taken that trip, and we can talk more about that. Tim, what's your vacation plans? So,
I hope to get to go and work in Florida again this year. You might know I go down there. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a cramp on my side. I might get to go down there for a week. And last year I was in Miami. You might remember it. Usually I've been in Orlando. Once a year we go down and we volunteer and help the state of Florida. Kids in the summer get a summer feeding program, so it might be at the Boys and Girls Club, might be your local church, could even be a neighborhood home, and we go in and make sure that they are doing food safety. Gotcha. And it's like a 15-minute visit, and you go on to the next one. They're kind of fun. I enjoy doing them. I enjoy the weather and stuff while I'm down there. So probably we'll do that for work, but we... my son, which I will brag for just a minute, he made sergeant.
I saw that. Congratulations.
Was promoted and got a huge signing bonus. And I told him...
Re-upped, right?
Yeah.
Re-upped and got the signing bonus.
Yeah, so he got a big signing bonus. So, and he'll be moving to Fort Worth by the end of the year. So we told him, we said, you know what, just make sure... If you would have gave me that much money at 22 years old, I can't imagine. It would not have been good. But I told him, he said, no, I want to put a down payment on a house. That's what it's for. And I said, well, you know what?
Is he still in North Carolina?
South Carolina.
South Carolina, excuse me.
So I said, well, maybe you would take a little bit. Do a trip. Do a cruise or something you normally wouldn't do. So he said, okay. So he booked a cruise, and he said, hey, they made me a special offer for like $400 more. I got an on-stay vacation added to it that we could do later, and we decided we'd give it to you guys.
Oh, there you go.
So, Myrtle Beach.
Oh, I love Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, I know. And I've never been. Oh, my goodness. And you have been some before.
Times. Yes, I love it.
So, we may get to go to Myrtle Beach around the 1st of August. End of July, 1st of August.
We were talking about going. We're talking about going back there next year. I mean, as far as beaches go, it's one of my favorites, and I do miss going there. We already had we have all our places down that we like to go and everything.
Yeah, well, you'll have to give me some tips. So anyway, that's what and some resort that's connected. They're all connected with the cruise lines and stuff. And it's kind of like an all-inclusive kind of deal. So, and he gifted that to us. So.
That was so nice.
So we're excited to get to do that. We'll have to get plane fare and food and stuff, but that's nice to have a place to go and hang out on the beach for a few days, which I think we really need to do.
Absolutely. So, beach is one of my favorite vacations. Tim, the last 2 years we've been going to Canada because we have family there, but I'm a beach person. And I've told all my friends, I think I told you this before, it's like if I just up and disappear one day, you'll find me at the beach. It's
Yeah.
because I moved to the beach. But the
Yeah.
only thing that scares me about the beach is hurricanes.
Right.
But apparently, it doesn't take hurricanes or tornadoes. All it takes is 60-mile-per-hour winds coming through
Right.
to cause issues.
That's true. So, and there may be more built for it.
Exactly. So, it is what it is. So, well, that sounds fun, Tim. Hopefully you get to have some nice time in Florida and in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So, good places to go. Tim, any investment stuff that you want to talk about? GameStop, with all of the stuff's been going crazy again. AMC took a little bit of a jump.
Yeah, I've been real careful with my investing, kind of waiting to see what happens with the next election. But at the same time, there's been little pods and pools there. Remember, I bought some Starbucks not long ago when it was down. It's up. Bought some, what's a WWE stock? I can't think. It's not
TKO.
TKO.
Which is now UFC and WWE.
I bought some of it a while back, and it's doing pretty good. Just steadily investing enough to, maybe pad a little retirement, but nothing risky or crazy lately.
That's
what about
good.
you?
Same, Tim. Not really been investing in much. I did buy more AMC stock right before it went up. I bought a couple more shares, just two, and it went up after the meme stock guy said all that stuff, and so I made a little bit of money on that.
A little bit, okay.
But really, I have the AMC stock because they give their shareholders free stuff at the theater, and right now we're going to the theater a lot,
exactly,
because it's summertime. We already saw Garfield. We've got Inside Out 2 on the list. We got what's the next one? Despicable Me 4 is on our list of stuff to see, and of course Wolverine and Deadpool. Tim, I already have a kind of a what should I say, like a get together set up with my pastor to go see that one. So there you go. But looking forward to seeing
a pretty cool pastor.
Yeah, exactly. Looking forward to seeing all these things. So my movie watching is up because I like going to the movies. I like going to movie theaters. I like seeing movies in movie theaters.
I'm like you. Summer's a little busier, and we have Dawn's out of school, so we probably go see a movie or two ourselves.
Absolutely. And I like AMC theaters. I do. I mean, we have a Studio Movie Grill here. They're pretty good as well. We have a Regal Cinema, which, Tim, is not bad. It's just that it's all the way across town.
Yeah.
But it's right by where I work. So sometimes if the kids are out of town or the wife's out of town, I will sneak in there after work and see one. But to be honest with you, still clean. Still really nice theater. So, and then, is that all the movie theaters we have? Is that it? I think so. Yeah, that's the SMG, the AMC, and the Regal. That's all we got. So, good stuff. But like movie theaters. We'll talk about movies here in a bit. Let's talk about sports. So, Tim, the Texas Rangers have been very rocky lately. We've had a little bit of an uptick recently. We're second in the division, but we're 2 games below 500 right now. Hoping we pick that back up. It does look like we're doing that. Tim, the All-Star game takes place here.
Yeah.
It'll be here in Texas, and so in Arlington, and no way I'm going. Tickets were too expensive, and I didn't win
I looked at them, too. They're just crazy.
I was about to say, I didn't win the raffle. So it is what it is, but looking forward to watching it on TV. Good stuff. And look, the Texas Rangers can still do it. We got a lot of injuries. We got guys coming back from injury after the All-Star break. Looking forward to making a run at it.
Yeah,
so
and a lot of trades and stuff that could take place.
Absolutely. We got the NBA Finals tonight. We got Boston versus Dallas. We've been talking about that. Let's talk about the NHL playoffs. Tim, I'm sad.
Yeah, you're really sad.
I really thought that we'd be able to...
We kind of blew it, didn't we?
Yeah, I really thought the Dallas Stars were going to be able to pull this out against Edmonton. And as soon as it was us in Edmonton... Tim, I know my doppelganger. We're friends on Facebook.
Okay.
I met a guy named Jonathan Leung. We have the same name. He's a little bit older than me, but he lives in Canada, in Edmonton. Okay. And I live in Dallas. And so I said, I knew he's an Oilers fan. So I said, looking forward to a spirited series. Good luck. Kind of thing. And so, it was a battle of the Jonathan Leungs, if you will, and the Oilers came out on top. So congratulations to them. Tim, the Stars had to go through quite a gauntlet to get through to that point. We had to go through the Vegas Golden Knights, who I think won the Stanley Cup last year, right?
Yeah.
Then we had to go through the Colorado Avalanche, and they were really good. And we were beat up. We lost some guys, and we just weren't playing our best hockey. The first 2 games we looked great, and then all of a sudden it's like our energy level died off. Saw glimpses of it in Game 6, and then that was it. But my heart goes out to Joe Pavelski, because he basically announced his retirement, Tim. And so I was really hoping we could get the win for him. In fact, they're showing highlights right here of Florida and Edmonton. Now, Tim, I did not realize that Canada has not won a Stanley Cup in forever.
I did not realize that either.
It's been a long time, okay? We're talking about no Canadian team and you
Wow.
got the Edmonton Oilers, you got the Calgary Flames, you got the
Maple Leafs.
Toronto Maple Leafs. See, there's a lot of Canadian teams, right? And they have no Canadian team has won a Stanley Cup in, like, I think he said 30 plus years.
Wow.
And so
That's
I'm
crazy.
rooting for Edmonton. Edmonton, pull this out. And I mean, how weird would it have been if Dallas and Florida were in the Stanley Cup Finals? I mean, you're talking about two of the least cold places in the world, right?
Right.
So I mean, it's good that a team that actually is in a place where it gets cold, that they get a chance at it. And so go Oilers. Good luck in the finals. You broke my heart, but rooting for you going forward. There you go. Tim, we're watching a lot of WWE around my house still.
Yeah.
So having fun with that. Raw, SmackDown. Did I mention we have tickets to go see a show in
Again,
August?
Yeah, I didn't know when it was, but
August.
you said you got tickets
Yeah.
again. So
Gonna go see Raw in August again, and my kids are all about it. They're having the time of their lives. We watch Raw and SmackDown every week, and all of the premium level events as well. So I'm having a good time with that. And then the UFL, Tim, I haven't been watching. Renegades picked up a couple more wins and a couple more losses since we were last here. They're not going to make it into the playoff, but I think I may watch some of the playoff games just to see.
Maybe.
I'm curious. So, and I think that does it for all of that discussion. Let's talk about some movies and TV shows, Tim. Now, before we talk about the one we both saw, what have you seen outside of that? What were some other things that you watched this month?
Well, let's see. I have been watching The Good Doctor.
Okay, I
I
haven't there.
never had watched it, and I've started kind of binging it lately, and I really like it. That is a good show.
Okay.
Have you watched it?
I've only seen like previews and things. I've never watched an episode.
I really like it, and people are saying it's one of those. Wait, it's so good. The ending will get you, but it's good. You know, watch it. It's awesome, and I can see it building up to it's probably going to be something really good. So,
Okay.
I've been watching The Good Doctor, and the show that. So I'll give you the trivia. See if you can guess who it was.
Okay.
It is a show that is based on a family growing up in East Texas.
Okay.
One of the actors actually lives here in East Texas.
Hi, is this young Sheldon?
That is young
Okay,
Sheldon.
I got that.
And so the brother in the show was at IHOP in Longview
Oh,
the
there
other
you go.
day. So anyway, he apparently was they're getting ready to do a spinoff show. And anyway, I've watched several episodes. Over time, it's on, nothing's on TV. But I've never really, kind of watched it and known the general theme all along as you see things. And I'm really, I'll watch some of The Good Doctor and I'll switch over. I watch 1 or 2 episodes a night. They're quick episodes, 19 minutes or something. They always have, but you start noticing things. Like the first time he ever watches Star Trek, say for instance.
Yes.
And he goes, man, Will Wheaton, I'd like to meet that guy, one day. And you start seeing all the stuff that's what shapes him to be who he is and how he doesn't drive. You'll figure that out, and different things like that. So it's really good. And so I like it. It's entertaining and funny.
So I've never gotten into Big Bang Theory or Young Sheldon
see, I
or
really
any
like
of that.
Big Bang Theory.
I've never gotten into any of that.
Well, so let's just say if you never watched, you would think the Big Bang Theory would be some kind of anti-religious something. That's what I thought when I first heard of it. It's really nothing to do with that.
It looks like a sitcom.
And it's really cool though how young Sheldon, he's an atheist as a kid, and his mom is super religious, and he goes to church every time, and the pastor will be preaching and he'll ask a question, and it's really hard. He's like, if octopuses were on a planet, would they send another Jesus octopus? And anyway, it's really interesting, and I think they do a good job of not offending anybody, actually, with their show. And so, you ever get a chance, just watch a couple episodes. You'll really laugh because, when he gets his first computer, and every week he looks forward to going to Radio Shack. He's like, everybody wants to go to the football game or do this, and they're like, would you like to go roller skating? I want to go to Radio Shack. They got a new sale, and they got a new modem coming out, and they're like, what's a modem? He's like, oh, I don't know. I can't even explain it to you. And anyway, it's a
I
good
don't know.
show.
I feel like, I don't know, maybe I lived the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I can't relate to it. I've
I
tried
think
to
it
watch
is.
episodes, and it just doesn't hit me for some reason. I don't know.
Well, I think maybe start off with Young Sheldon. It's a little quirkier, a little funnier and different. Plus, it's all in East Texas.
Right.
Like, for instance, the made-up town, I think what they live in is called Medford or something like that. It's not a real town. But, like, one person goes into a mental hospital in Rusk.
Huh?
And so it's not just East Texas, like Beaumont's East Texas, like our area of the country, East Texas.
Gotcha.
And so you'll see stuff, that'll come up, or they'll be like their schools playing Carthage or something, It's really fun.
Okay. I'll give it a shot. Anything else?
No, that's pretty much what I've been back and forth on. I did see a couple movies, but now I can't even remember what they were.
Okay. I was just going to come up to the live chat. Jumping General, what's your favorite all-time wrestler? That's tough.
I can tell
I
you
have
mine.
several that I like. Who's yours?
Junkyard Dog.
Junkyard Dog.
JYD.
JYD was a big deal, man.
That's my favorite. Just because of childhood memories, I really did like the Von Erichs too. But modern era, I like The Rock.
Yeah.
I did
Rock,
like
man.
him a lot.
So when I was a kid, probably my favorite wrestler was Kevin Nash.
Okay.
And as I got older, I think it kind of went to The Rock, Stone Cold, those kind of guys. But for the most part, I grew up in the Attitude Era when all that stuff was going on, in the WWE, and it was really popular. And so a lot of those wrestlers are very close, near and dear to my heart. I would not be a wrestling fan if it wasn't for WCW, though. And so Sting and Kevin Nash, Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, those guys.
Modern. What do you watch now and root for? Who do you root for? Who's your? Do you have a favorite?
Man, Cody Rhodes is like the big baby face now, man.
Yeah,
Everybody
hard.
knows Cody.
hard not to root for Cody.
I remember watching Dusty Rhodes. Like, I
Yeah.
remember seeing Dusty. So,
Me
it's
too.
like good memories there. Drew McIntyre, Tim, if you know who he is. I like Drew as well. LA Knight. I've got an LA Knight action figure over there, Tim. If you want
Right,
to grab
yeah.
him real quick.
Sure. He's
LA
right
Knight
here,
is kind of a throwback wrestler to me. I feel like he's more like what you got in the Attitude Era. So there you go. There you go. Let me talk to you, Tim.
Yep.
And then, I do like LA Knight and Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes. Those are
Yeah,
probably the ones I
it's
look
like
for.
you got to have a good catchphrase.
Yeah.
A good entrance song.
Yeah.
We look for. We're a little pickier on our wrestlers today. It's like they gotta check all my boxes, and
Right.
not very many do these days.
But Cody's got like the all-time greatest babyface story ever with like Dusty and everything. So he's gonna be like the next John Cena, the next
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan. Like that's his path right now.
Yeah.
So. Alan says, I will be at the Birmingham Stallions playoff game this Saturday.
Oh, fun.
So there you go. Go Birmingham. Maybe they can, and he says, hoping for a three-peat. Yeah, they would. Because they won the USFL twice, right? And so this is going to be the UFL, the Unified League. So we'll see. Oh, here's the picks. In case you're wondering, Stephen A. picked the Mavericks, Will Bond picked the Celtics, Bob picked the Mavericks, and Josh picked the Celtics. They're split, Tim.
Is this just on game one pick?
Yes, I think game one
see,
pick.
I don't know.
It's in Boston.
I got to be honest, that I wouldn't put money on the Mavs, but I'm hoping they win.
Right, it's in Boston.
But
I will tell
we
you this,
played
though.
good on the road.
Yeah, did you hear on who'd we just play? Who was the last game we played?
Timberwolves.
So on Timberwolves Reddit, Tim, people were saying, do not boo Luka.
Yeah.
He feeds off of it.
He
literally,
does.
people were telling their fans, do not boo him.
Yeah.
Do not. And what did they do, Tim?
They booed him.
They booed him. And what happened?
Yeah.
He went off.
You could tell he does. He
feeds
says
it.
he likes it.
Oh, he loves it. So, like, playing road games with Luka, if you're booing him, he wants to rub it in your face so bad. That's that extra motivation, Tim, that kicks him into the next gear.
So, do you think he's the best player in the NBA right now?
Golly, that's a hard question.
Who would you pick over him, right? I was
right this moment, nobody.
Yeah.
I just...
He's pretty good.
Yeah. But right this moment, there's not a whole lot of people I would take over Luka as far as an individual. You got to remember, our entire offense revolves around him, including Kyrie Irving.
Right.
Who is a great player in his own right.
So when one goes, you double team on one, then you got the other one.
Kyrie is like, Luka, it's all you, but if you need me, I'm here.
Yeah.
Right?
He's the Pippen to Jordan, right?
Right, exactly. And he's better than Pippen was.
Way better. Yeah.
Kyrie can run the offense too.
Right.
Like, he can run it almost as good as Luca can.
And kind of take over if he needs to,
Right.
or sees Lucas not having the best night, or Lucas tired or
And
hurt.
if you watch pace, like Luca is slow and methodical. He's looking for holes in your defense.
Yeah.
If you watch Kyrie beats you with pace.
Yeah.
Okay, he's the opposite. So we're giving you two different looks. Okay, Kyrie's going to give you pace. He's like, look, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to drive to the basket and I'm going to take it. Luca is always looking for the open spot.
Right.
And if that's him or if that's somebody else on the floor, Luca is looking for your weak spot.
Yeah, he's the playmaker. He's
Right.
setting up a play.
Right. So he's
You're
methodical.
going to give it to him, he'll take it.
Right. So he's methodical. So even if he's driving to the basket and he sees the guy open on the 3 line,
Right.
the guy on the 3 line's getting it.
And
If he's
Kyrie's
open.
just, I'm going to make a play.
Right.
You know,
Kyrie's
just
like,
give me the ball.
I'm
I
either
got
going
it.
to, or I'm going to take what you give me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to wait.
Right.
So I'm going to either throw it to the open guy right now, or I'm going to drive and take the basket.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are my two options with Kyrie, and I'm going to use the pace to beat you. I'm going to beat you on the speed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to make you make that decision so quickly that you're not. It's going to open up holes naturally, right?
agree.
Whereas Luka, like I said, he's waiting for you to make the mistake. He's waiting for that. And so you'll watch it. If you watch tonight, and obviously I've watched a lot of both these guys, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. Luka will be methodical. Now, here's the thing you need to know about Luka, though. He can turn it on when he wants to.
Mm-hmm.
So if he wants to pick up the pace, he can. One of the things about Luka, too, he can find you open anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
He can get the rebound and toss the freaking ball all the way down the court and get it
hit
to
you
you.
right in your hands.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. If he sees
Or-
you open down the court,
Right.
he's going to get it to you.
Highlight reels.
Right. An alley-oop from past half court.
Right, yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of stuff Luka does. You're open, you get ball.
Right.
I mean, that's how it works. So he will find you. And Luka's always looking for that defensive opening. He's like, I'm waiting for you guys to make a mistake. If that's on a pick and roll changeover, I'm going to wait for you to make the mistake. If that's just leaving the center in to guard the paint, so you're opening up somebody on the outside, then he's going to take advantage of that. That's what Luka is, and it's beautiful to watch. Tim, there's not too many players who can open up a defense like Luka. And so, I mean, I feel good about our chances, but I will tell you the Celtics have 4 good players.
So a little bit of switching gears. Have you kept up with Caitlin Clark? What do you think about that?
Okay, so the foul was totally uncalled for. I mean, the
Yeah.
little push, I'm just like, why?
Right.
Why?
She's going to get fouled a lot.
Right.
But she flopped a little bit.
She did.
But at the same time, boy, when there's flashes of brilliance there, and what she's doing for the league,
Yeah.
they should be really grateful.
You realize that, like, if you take the
understand.
attendance of all of the games for the week and just the attendance for her games, that more people attended games where she played than the rest
whole
of
league.
the WNBA
Right.
altogether. And so it just shows you how popular she is right now.
I do like to watch the highlights.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really sat down and watched the game. I like to watch highlights. Maybe a live goal. We'd like to see her in person.
Yeah, for
playing
sure.
Dallas. I think it'll be fun to.
Oh, they're
watch
about
her
to start
play.
the game, Tim. We're getting close here.
Well, we're gonna wrap it up.
Well, let's do our stuff real quick. I'll do the movies I saw. So I saw The Fall Guy, Back to Black, Argyle, and Garfield. Do you know any of these?
Yes, all
Okay.
of them.
So The Fall Guy is what's the guy? Oh golly, how come I can't remember names right now? I'm tired.
I
I
know
worked all
too.
day. Ryan Gosling.
Yes.
And Emily Blunt.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Man, and me and the wife wanted to
It
go.
wasn't goofy.
No,
No,
it's
it
great.
wasn't.
It is. It is.
I was afraid it would just be silly.
It is a rom-com with a mystery
Okay.
and tons of action sequences.
I think my wife would even like to watch it with me. Okay, good.
It is a rom-com
Okay.
with a mystery component and tons of cool action sequences.
Hey, sounds like a good movie.
Everybody should love this movie.
Okay, good.
It should have made tons of money at the box office. I think the fact that it came out in May
Mm-hmm.
made it difficult. Because how much stuff do you guys have to do in May? We're like blown up busy.
Right.
I don't know about y'all.
Yeah.
And so May is so tough for us because you got end of school year, you got kids. We were trying to go see this, but instead we stayed home and watched Argyle because it was on Apple TV.
Okay.
But yes, we saw it when it came out on demand and we loved it. And like I said, thanks for the money. Because that's what it went to. It went to The Fall Guy. Fall Guy was good and highly recommended. Everybody should watch this. It has something for everybody.
Okay.
You guys would love it.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
Good.
So,
We'll just have to watch it then.
Back to Black. Do you know what this is?
That's the one I hadn't heard of.
Amy Winehouse movie.
Oh, that would be
It
good.
just came out on demand like
Yeah,
Tuesday.
I want to see that then.
Okay, so it's basically her story, Tim, and if you know her story, it's tragic. And here's, Tim, I was not a huge Amy Winehouse fan in the beginning.
Right.
Because I don't usually listen to music that has a lot of words in it, explicit words. In fact, I have my explicit filter on for Spotify. Guys, if you can't write a song without explicit lyrics, I'm probably not going to listen to it, okay? Because, I mean, I don't need all of the F-bombs and everything else in there. You can write a good song without that stuff, okay? But with that said, after watching the movie and listening to her music, brilliant. Like, her music was great. And she had a fantastic voice. Like, very good stuff. And so, and I'd seen some documentaries and stuff, but something about this movie just really kicked it into high gear for me. And so I would recommend it. It's rough. Her life was rough. Okay, she sang a song. They tried to make me go to rehab, and I said, no, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of her life.
True story.
Right, exactly. All of her songs are written by things she experienced. It's all real.
So we can interrupt and mention they are doing a tribute right now to Bill Walton.
I see that.
And I really like to watch Bill Walton play as a little kid. But one of the best things I remember is Larry Bird's first year getting to play with Bill Walton, them two together.
Yeah.
And it was so good.
For sure.
Anyway.
Continuing on here. Argyle, Tim. You know Argyle?
Yes.
Okay. Did you see it?
I have not seen it,
Okay,
but
it's
I
on
do
Apple
have
TV.
Apple TV now.
If you have Apple TV Plus, you can watch it. Tim, it's done by Matthew Vaughn, same guy who does the Kingsman series.
Okay.
Okay, it's good.
Really good. Okay.
Really good. And it's got a twist in it.
It's a movie.
It's a movie.
Okay.
It's got a twist in it.
Okay.
So watch for that. And it is recommended. Thumbs up on Argyle. Thumbs up on Back to Black. Thumbs up on the Fall Guy for sure. 2 thumbs up on Fall Guy.
Wow.
Okay. I would
See
say
anything on that list?
any of those you should watch. Garfield.
Better.
Just great. I mean,
Really
just
good.
a good kid movie. No, I mean, look, basic storyline.
Right.
Like now, it's a new story for Garfield. It talks
Okay.
about his dad,
Oh.
which we really haven't heard much about, right?
No.
Samuel L. Jackson voices his dad.
Okay.
Okay. So,
funny.
so that's what you should know.
Funny.
But it's really good. Like it was fun. Just a good time at the movies with my kids. Didn't have to worry about any weird stuff in there. You know what I'm saying? The weird stuff. Didn't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah.
You know, just a fun kid flick. That's all I want.
Good.
Don't put the rest of the stuff in there. Fun
Right.
kid flick. Just let's have fun. You know, like Super Mario. Remember
Yes.
Super Mario Brothers. Very much in the same vein.
Entertaining.
Just good, fun, entertaining time. Look, you probably won't remember all the plot lines. You'll remember some of the funny parts of Garfield. But it's just fun to watch.
Well,
Just
so
fun.
what'd you think about Knuckles then?
Okay, so Knuckles is a limited series, 5 episodes, and Tim, it's funny. For a family show, it's got the D word in it a lot, which we hear that a lot in wrestling because
Sure.
it's wrestling. So I mean, they're used to that, I guess. But I wish it had a little bit more Knuckles in it, and I think they did that because their budget was constrained. It has enough Knuckles in it that you know it's Knuckles, though. So and it's very good, and it's worth watching if you have Paramount Plus. I don't know if it's worth getting Paramount Plus to watch it.
That's a good way to put it. Okay.
If you've seen the 2 Sonic movies and you really like those are like some of your favorites, watch Knuckles.
Sure.
Because you're getting more of that basically. So if you like that style humor, if you like that style writing, it's basically just more of that with the same characters. Wade from the movies is the main character of Knuckles. Outside of Knuckles, it's like basically a road trip movie with the 2 of them.
Gotcha.
And there's a lot of bowling in it, so I will
Okay.
tell you that. But it is not necessarily worth getting Paramount Plus to watch it, but if you have
got it,
Paramount
might
Plus,
as well.
watch it. And then I've been watching The Dark Side of Comedy. Tim, I mentioned that I had been watching Dark Side of the Ring, which is about
Right.
kind of darker stories in pro wrestling. Dark Side of Comedy is the same thing about comedy. The first 3 episodes that I've watched are Chris Farley, Andrew Dice Clay, and Roseanne Barr.
Interesting.
Okay? And it just talks about their lives. Tim, I don't remember Andrew Dice Clay probably as much as you do.
Yeah.
Okay,
I definitely remember him in the 80s.
a little bit of him, but I was a kid when a lot of that stuff was going on. I did not realize how controversial his
really
comedy
big, yeah.
was, okay, until I watched The Dark Side of Comedy. So those are about hour-long episodes, 40 minutes with commercials and everything. And those are on Hulu. You can watch. There's 3 seasons of it already, so you can watch those. And Tim, I love comedy anyway.
I would like that.
If you like that kind of stuff, check out Dark Side of Comedy. It's good. And Tim, let's talk about the one we both watched.
Yeah.
Ashley Madison, Sex, Lies, and Scandal on Netflix.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to let you go first because I've been talking a while now.
Well, it was
What'd you
just,
think?
it was one of those, I said, I'm either going to watch 10 minutes. Either I'm going to like it or it's just not going to be something I'm interested in. Engulfed in it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, go home from work, let's start the next episode.
There's only 3, right?
Yeah.
It's only 3
But I
episodes.
was like, couldn't wait to pick back up where we left off. And it was so good, and you kind of get to know a little bit about. I mean, to be honest, some people you kind of felt sorry for, and then other people you're like, well, what do you expect?
Yep.
But at the same time, just how they made so much money.
Oh, yeah.
It was crazy. You start taking
on the concept of basically having an affair.
Yes, but then to find out they're still around.
Yep.
It didn't shut them down. And they have a lot of people still using that site, and you think, who would trust them ever again? Especially after watching this and realizing some of the shady stuff that they did.
The bots.
And I think, that part of it was that this person wanted to expose and shut them down because they probably did something to them. And you never really find out who was responsible.
They still don't know for sure.
Yeah, they have a pretty good idea, but they don't know for sure. Nobody's in jail or nothing because of it. And interesting, very, very, very interesting, and well worth the watch.
For sure. Tim, the parts that I found the most fascinating with this, we talked about this kind of in the break, guys. The Christian couple, the Christian influencer couple, the 3 episodes.
Huge influencer couple making lots of money.
Yeah, so they were a Christian influencer couple making lots of money, only for his name to be included in the dump. And he had been on the site. And at first he had only said he had done so much stuff.
He lied.
He kind of limited it. At first he said, he was like, oh, I just made a profile, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then
come to find out,
he did all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So their perspective in it is very interesting. The whole track down of who did it is very interesting because they track it down to a login from a contractor. They confront the contractor, but he doesn't say that he did it. And there's no proof that necessarily he did. Somebody may have got his credentials and done it, right?
Maybe.
So, I mean, there's no telling if it was actually him or not.
And at this point today, I don't think they care.
Nope.
I don't think they care that it happened. I think it's more publicity.
Right. So, I mean, at the moment, though, they were panicking. And that's what it really shows. Shows what was going on behind the scenes while all that stuff was happening, right? And that's the real interesting. When they released all of the leaks. The first leak with a lot of the users and the second leak with all the company information stuff, right? So, very interesting stuff.
Yeah, so it wasn't just what you guys probably know of it, what happened, the leak. It's more about how just deceptive and everything, even to their employees, how they were. And then one point they promise everybody, if you'll give us $20, we'll make sure that your name is off the list and delete your account. Have no intention of ever doing that.
Never did that.
Took everybody's money. It's really, it's more to it than what you think. I'll just say that. If you haven't seen it, there's more to it than you think. Watch it.
Absolutely. Recommended. In fact, everything we said this month was recommended.
I think so. Lots of good
Sometimes I'll watch stuff and I'm like, it wasn't that good. But
Yeah.
this month, everything I watched was great. It's a good time to be watching stuff for sure, including the NBA Finals, which I'm about to peek up here and watch as well, and we hope you do too. Tim, we're going to wrap it up here. Hopefully you guys have a great month. Again, hopefully July 3rd, we're going to be back here at 5:30 p.m. Central Time unless things change, and we look forward to seeing you guys then. Till then, take care. Tim, anything else before we head out?
Thanks for joining. Everybody have a good month.
See you soon. Bye, guys.